Alright, hi everyone, and today we're not gonna read the visual novel itself, the White Album too, but we're gonna dive into the side novel with the snow melts and until it falls again. Since as I learned from someone that this novel apparently gives a lot of insight about why Kazusa acts the way she is, and I hope it indeed gonna provide me this kind of insight to help me properly understand her and in general have better understanding of Kazusa's character, like, because that's what I'm hoping for. Prologue. 2 years pre-war, Tomo Kazusa hated the sky. In the spring, she had skipped out on the opening ceremony for the affiliated high school of Hojo University and sprawled out on her back along riverbed nearby. The perfectly clear blue sky above her was in great contrast to the dusky clouds in her heart, and she didn't like that at all. Yeah, that sounds like a shitty way to start your high school. Okay, I think we're gonna stick with this. A few days before that, Kazusa's mother. Wait, I hope. Tomoyoka, world-class profiligated pianist and Kazusa's only blood relative, had rattled off a list of blatantly selfish reasons to her daughter about jetting off to Paris to ship her base of operations to Europe. Throughout Kazusa's childhood, Yoko had never shown up to any wins outside of competitions. She never made a dinner. She was out of the house constantly. And although she claimed it was for concert tours, Kazusa knew that that was only true about half the time. The other half involved her going on honeymoon with whatever man she was currently involved with. I mean, in a way, we could say that Tomoyoka kinda indeed gave off this kind of impression of carefree person, like carefree in a not in a good way, like. That she doesn't place much importance in anything she does, like. And even in regards to her own daughter, like, she still acts like this. Even so, Kazusa had never felt dissatisfied with her debauched mother before. For about half the year, Yoko stayed in the same house as she did, ate at the same table, and gave her prize in the event of successful competition. She truly believed from the bottom of her heart that she was needed by her mother, that she was loved. Nevertheless, there is no point in bringing you with me as you are now. The moment she heard these merciless words out of her own mother's mouth, that little girl who still bore the name of Tomo Kazusa felt that the former Tomo Kazusa had vanished. The world didn't need this new Tomo Kazusa. And I'm gonna say that the way she reacts here makes sense, like, because I could imagine that for a while, especially with the way she was brought up, her mother, despite her ways, was like her entire world, like outside of playing piano, practically like her god. And here she was like totally rejected by the sad god, and she has no clue what to do next. This wasn't a fact, but simply a change in the way Kazusa herself felt. For a girl in the middle of adolescence, any statement to the country to the contrary would only serve to fuel her anger. Yeah, but if you gotta be real, like her mother sounds like a total ass of a parent, like absolutely terrible mother. Ever since then, the way people spoke to her, looked at her, felt about her, no. Not just people, not even just living things, but everything. Every color, sound, smell, flavor, tactile sensation seemed to hide another secret meaning behind its surface, and she began to feel that they were all spiting her, mocking her, monitoring her, and yet disregarding her, so she straight up descended into being paranoid and resentful towards everything. So at this point, we could say that Kazusa is like heavily traumatized. But the reason why she heavily traumatized is because just how much her mother meant to him. That's probably the reason. Like, and so Kazusa decided to hate everything around him, which at present was the sky filling her field of vision. It was easier than hating her mother. Tom Kazusa hated her teacher. I think we're still gonna go with this. Yeah, because it kinda looks better to me. Tom Kazusa hated her teacher. The day after the entrance ceremony, Kazusa arrived at school to find the music program instructor waiting for him, who gave the new students a servile smile and guided her to the third floor of the other building after school. In the middle of a classroom beneath the plate reading music room 2, a brand new grand piano sat enshrined. Its engraving donated by Tomoyoka shone in gold bright enough to make Kazusa wince, and I could imagine that she absolutely hated this piano as well, like, because it's like, it's practically like a sign that taunted her with the fact that that her mother abandoned her. I left her out here, like in the school. While Kazusa stood there sighing, her teacher spoke of the high expectations Hojo High School and especially the music program had for her in particular. Even though she was just a first year student, she promised that they would give Kazusa full priority regarding her musical activities, publicly declaring to give her special treatment over the other students. And doing a good job alienating her from the others from yet to go, like. But now she herself is really sucks at making connections with people. Yeah, like, I'm just gonna clap. Kelsey decided to take her up on that offer immediately. Then get out. I'm going to practice now. And the teacher sounds like that, exactly that kind of a person who like doesn't give a shit like about what they teach or like about their students in general. Like she's there just to loot her paychecks. Like, had the teacher gotten mad and warned her about her rudeness, Kazusa might have realized how ridiculously stubborn she was being. Yeah, like, if you had someone else. If you had, like, Onizuka, for example. Perhaps he wouldn't have taught her how to play the music, like, but he probably would have taught him a lot about life and how to deal with people. Because okay, I'm not gonna draw this comparison here, but here, Kazusa resembles Kanzaki from great teacher Onizuka a bit. With her being like brilliant and at what she does, but really lacking in the common sense department and practically lacking any communication skills. Had the teacher, my bad. Perhaps she would have shown honest remorse like she used to, and her relationship with her teacher would have taken a turn for the better. However, the female teacher with black rimmed glasses only widened her eyes at Kazusa for a moment, and with a servile smile she accepted the impudence of the student who was 10 years younger than her and said, "Alright, come to the faculty room once you're done so I can lock the door after you." Yeah, Onizuka wouldn't have let out this slide. The guy would have been pissed with Kazusa, like. But in a right way, like. And so Kazusa decided to hate the woman who was to be her teacher. The school administration that forced her to take such an adult attitude. And all of the other teachers, even though they had nothing to do with it, it was too bothersome to make all these little distinctions between enemies and allies. Toma Kazusa hated her classmates. A short period after the entrance ceremony, once the classes had begun in earnest, a male student began talking to her in the middle of practice, although they were friends. I wonder who is the student. This classmate who it used... yeah, never mind. Wait, it's... I think it's that this guy who was like talking the shit about Kazusa during the school festival. I think it's it's him, like, because the name sounds familiar to me as well. This classmate who introduced himself as Matsukawa Takanori spoke proudly of the relationship they shared as frequent competitors for overall competition victories, and spoke even more proudly of how only the two of them had been selected to participate in the national competition taking place next month. Kazusa had no memory of the former and no interest in the latter, so she began to treat him with utter indifference. Makes sense, because the guy sounds like someone like asshole, like the guy who is like so full of himself that you can't see anyone around him. Like, just a rich guy who is like a bit gifted, but in the same time he's like he has nothing going for him aside from that. In that phase of this unforeseen response from her only worthy rival, Matsukawa forced himself to interpret her actions as just plain hard to please. Oh, and he started his conquest. I see. He started to cling to her even more desperately. He simply could not think of a single reason for Kazusa to hate him, after all. He believed that people of high class should stick together, and there was no doubt in his mind that they were the only available partners for each other. He believed that people of high class should stick together, and there was no doubt in his mind that they were the only available partners for each other, who could help each other grow, not only as pianists but as people too. Yeah, but the guy doesn't sound like someone who would really draw as a person, at least together with Kazusa. Like I can't imagine them in tandem bouncing off each other and somehow like de- developing the positive traits, like because with with this two, I really can't imagine them doing well together. Eventually, a certain incident put an end to his one-sided attention. It happened one evening at school, when the two of them were alone together in the classroom. No one but the two of them knew the details of what had occurred, but the end result had Matsukawa writhing in the pain with his hands on his groin, while Kazusa was kicking around desks and chairs, as if trying to do away with the disgusting sensation lingering in her food. Mm, I wonder what Matsukawa tried to do there. Did he like try to grab her, like, or what? I hope not. Like, it was, or he just like annoyed the shit out of her. It was Kazusa's habit as a pianist not to use her fists, but there was no particular reason behind her aiming for his groin. Seems like he really just annoyed the shit out of him. Regardless, this event was generously swept under the rug by the school as a minor incident, and the two of them got away without any disciplinary action taken against them. Despite that, or perhaps because of that, an irreparable friction appeared between Kazusa and her classmates less than a month after her meeting them. And so Kazusa decided to hate everyone in the classroom equally. She didn't want to direct special hatred toward Matsukawa, as that would only inflate his excessive self-importance. Yeah. The guy really sounds like an arrogant piece of shit, like. Because I remember how he how he was talking about himself and the way he was going about talking shit about Kazusa there. Like, really doesn't sound like a pleasant guy to deal with. The deciding factor was that no one would talk to her anymore anyway. And thus, the month passed, and it was the time for the spring national competition. First year student taking first place barely 2 months after enrolling was doubtlessly the greatest achievement of the school. The principal, board chairman, and vice principal all came to praise the single girl who had pulled it off. Her teacher displayed her usual servile smile as she followed her superiors in their praise. The yes woman, like in bad sense of that word, like. Absolutely like a compliant person who doesn't give a shit about what they do. Like, the upperclassmen who had lasted into the final round of the same competition applauded mechanically, their eyes cast down, and nobody was glad about Kazusa winning the first place. I mean, taking the first place there. And among her fellow first years, not a single one had come to this national competition to support her. That was the degree to which Kazusa had antagonized and separated herself from the surrounding world after a mere 2 months. But Kazusa showed no concern for these disagreeable responses. She accepted her certificate with a blank expression, then wordlessly cut off the people prizing her and left the venue, leaving behind both the certificate and the trophy. The feeling that filled her at that moment wasn't happiness, a sense of accomplishment or anger. It wasn't even a feeling of emptiness, it was apathy. Or so it seemed. Yeah, but it does make sense since it's like, why is she even doing this? Like, it's like she's just keeps going just because it become her whole world at this point. But there are there is no even her mother around anymore to give her even the scraps of attention. Yeah, but it does really sound sad in a way. Like she totally doesn't have anything, no sole reason to strive forward, like to keep going, like with everything being just like utterly meaningless. Because I couldn't properly remember what had happened after she opened the front door to her house that night. Because even with the people who interacted with her, they didn't interact with her because of her being Tomokazu-san. Like surely they get her last name like Toma, but the Kazusa part like went over their head, like their heads. The only thing that they probably acknowledged that was just the status or her being Tomoyoka's daughter, like, and that's it, like. But the person himself, Kazusa, wasn't acknowledged by anyone. Not the small parcel on her doorstep, not the dog plushie inside. It was that was clearly unfit for someone her age. Not the card attached that read "Happy Birthday" signed by her mother. Not the fact that today, marked by the day of her competition victory, was a week after her birthday. And not the fact that the plushie in front of her had oddly cute eyes. But it sounds to me like she came from completely like a dysfunctional household and didn't learn neither how to regulate her own emotions nor how to interact with people. So she really has a lot of troubles with both these things. She couldn't remember that she had begun screaming at some point, that she had thrown her mother's belated present at the wall, that she had picked it up again and torn it with her nails, that her vision had begun to blur, that she had become unable to control the ugly feelings within her, and had blurted them out, that she had made herself believe that she had nothing left, nothing, truly nothing. And the shit become even worse, like, because her mental state got even worse, like, because she acknowledged for herself that she has nothing left at this point. And I could imagine that she would truly start to despise the music and the whole thing with playing piano from this point. Kazusa's victory was a big enough deal to warrant a mention in the regional section of newspaper the next day with a photograph included. Of course, the name Tomoyoka showed up 5 times in the article, including in the headline. But Kazusa wasn't going to find that article or even look at for it. Yeah, at this point it sounds like she's not gonna give any shit about this article. Like, what's the point? Like, for whom she won that competition? Like, because her own mother doesn't give a single flying fuck about her. Like, Tomokazu came to hate the piano. For her at the time, that meant the same thing as hating the whole world, because the piano was her whole world. Like, as we know that she was forced to play the piano since she was 3. Perhaps now the things came full circle for me, like, because I'm starting to grasp a bit, like, why should I try to explain to express yourself through playing piano, like, a bit, because she didn't know any other way to how express yourself, like how to try to communicate with Haruki, how to reach him, like, and she retorted to this, like, to accompany him with her piano. Chapter 1, Spring. Toma. She had been dreaming. The worst kind of nightmare. Memories she never wanted to think of again. Rushing one after another through her brain like a revolving lantern. Toma, hey, I'm sorry, but could you wake up for a second? But waking her had never been a pleasant thing for her, and Kazu's heart was afraid enough that she felt furious. Even at the one she should have been thanking for calling out to her and waking her up from that nightmare. Granted, for the past several years, she had never been capable of anything as admirable as fighting another with goodwill. Oh, and I could guess it's like the very first interaction of hers with Haruki. Because in a way, it sounds like that flashback scene where he was when he tried to convince her to fill out the form. And this is like exactly the way they got acquainted with each other. She lifted her face to find a uniformed male student looking sharply at her with wide eyes. Yeah. At least his expression was stiff enough for her to be able to interpret it that way. Yeah, sounds like totally like a Haruki. Right there with him being stiff and rigid as always. The guy was like always like this. The fact that her present world was 2 years after that dream, the fact that she was currently in a third year regular course classroom, the fact that it was a 6th period. No, based on the noise around her, the school day had probably ended already. All of these facts streamed into her head, bringing her back to reality. However, as the aforementioned male student was simply standing there, frozen, Kaz took advantage of the moment and laid her head back down on the desk. Sorry. Are you Tomokazu, right? Only to be roused again immediately after soaring her mood even further. Her physical state aside, the dream had left her in a rotten place mentally, and with this flimsy wake-up call on top of it, she finally turned to face the student, making no effort whatsoever to hide her temper. You haven't been attending school since the opening ceremony, right? Are you feeling okay? Yeah? Her first impression of him, really, there wasn't much of an impression to get. Unremarkable height, unremarkable build, unremarkable hairstyle, unremarkable looks. That's a lot of if you're saying unremarkable there, like, yeah, but kinda contradicts that kind of impression that Haruki leaves on people. But it does fit the way he goes about describing himself, like, with him and the most average guy like you could find around. Here textbooks for all of your classes. Student ID, various applications form. They are sorted based on how near the deadline is. The single thing that distinguished him was that, unlike every other male student, the top button of his shirt was done. Class hasn't progressed much during the time you have been away, but there's quite a lot of forms to be filled out, and his initial glare vanished. She could tell that he was showing this calm, friendly, concerned attitude in an effort to make her drop her guard. But he didn't stop looking straight into her eyes. Kazusa had barely ever made eye contact with the others. So the uncomfortable feeling was unshakable. Also here, I grabbed a copy of the student discount application for you. And it was Ucho, so you commute here by train, right? Now breaking eye contact, he piled book after book and bundles of paper on her desk. Yeah, it's like he was really pushing his way, like to get the stuff he wanted her do, and didn't give her like any opening to insert any word like or make any complaint or retort like. Now, make absolutely sure you don't forget this one. The parent gathering flyer. It starts next week, so give it to your guardian sometime today. I see, yeah. Yeah, this sounds like the way he would get on her nerves for sure. Guardian, I would have preferred to deliver it straight to your house, but I got busy with some other stuff. Sorry about that. The way he unwittingly struck a sore spot got on her nerves. Yeah, pretty much got it like. He probably thought himself gentle and kind with his pushiness, but Kazusa had enough of that, and thus on the spot apologies, which served only to further that pushiness ticked her off even more. In other words, she didn't like a single thing about the boy in front of him. Do you have any questions of him? I will answer anything I can. In response to this boy, who said one thing after another to further her irritation, Kazusa only shook her head in silence. In her early days here, she had snapped at everything she didn't like. Now, with all that she had learned in the past 2 years, it was too much of a bother. I see. That's good. That's good. Now then, phew. I will explain how to fill out these forms. First, we have the jersey order form. And yet, this shameless boy took Kazusa's generous compromise all too literally, as though she had said, no problem, go ahead. Because Haruki could be like really strong-headed at times, like especially with the stuff like this. What's the matter? Ing? Hmm? You're annoying. He was really annoying. I mean, he was sure a bit pushy there, but like, but if we view things from his perspective, it was just like ordinary, like everyday interaction between two classmates. Like, she had finally managed to stop flinging her negative emotions on the others. Even if her reason was something basic and uninspiring, like, again, it's too much of a bother. The fact that was that as a result, she had managed to avoid a discord with those around him. But it really shows us how much dysfunctional she got to be like because of the stuff that happened to him. Because she couldn't even fare with this type of interactions, like, because Because it's not like he was asking her some like really deep personal question or anything like that. He was just trying to her to get her to fill out the forms, just the formal stuff. Yeah, that a lot, but this is important. If you find me annoying, you'll find that memorizing all this is the fastest way to get rid of me. And yet, um, who did the stackless, high-handed, and insolent guy think he was? All right. This is our first meeting. I'm Kitahara Haruki. I'm the class representative for Class E during the first term. No one asked for your name. You have had that look on your face that reads, who the hell are you? For a while now. She didn't even know his name. No, he had just told her. But she had no intention of remembering it. Yeah, sure, I believe you. I still feeling under the weather after all. Do you want to go to the infirmary? I will go with you. Don't touch me. Hmm? No, I haven't actually touched you yet. Was this insignificant roadside pebble trying to make itself an obstacle in her life? Even though it's not large, sharp, or even on the road itself. It's kind of... it really sounds rough, like when she compares him to freaking pebble, like on the side of the road, like, jeez. Yes, I could feel the anger well up in her for the first time in a long time. Alright, we can do the rest later. In that case, could you take this home with you after school? Don't touch me. Before she knew it, she had exceeded her limit of him. And with this, we could say that Haruki made the first crack in her shell, like in that kind of that shell that she built for herself, like this, and started to sleep in her world bit by bit, with as it was clearly like really lonely and isolated place, because she has never learned any means to properly communicate with people, to express yourself, and or even like properly read the intentions of people around her. Alright, the latter part is something she could do to some extent, but still, like... Around the time that the warm spring sun had begun to set, steadily bringing in a chill that served as a reminder that winter had just ended, Kazusa exited the school gates alone. Her expression retained the heat of her earlier anger, and her tightly drawn mouth and narrowed eyes, coupled with the bridge of her nose, produced a sense of sharp, unapproachable beauty. So, like, the Ice Princess, like, or like Ice Queen. Basically, the way Haruki was describing her back in introductory chapter a couple of times. Of course, the people who passed by her, giving her wide berth, had no way of knowing that what had given rise to this frightening beauty was something so ridiculously childish. His demon fault. When Kazusa had stormed out of the classroom, almost slamming against the door, everyone, including him, only stared at her in silence over her sudden violent outburst. Yeah, it totally sounds to me like she doesn't really know how to regulate her emotions. Just like and as soon as anyone tries to get just a bit closer to her, and bam, it's sudden violent outbursts, like just like they said here. It was a scene that had played out often enough in the music program classroom that she had been in until last year, but it wasn't something Kazusa had meant to happen this year. At this rate, she didn't know anymore why she had transferred into the regular program. Kazusa had wanted to start anew in a new class where she knew no one and no one knew her. To live a monotonous school life and as possible even graduate. But her first day in the regular program went as just as poorly as usual. And also just as usual, Kazusa fell into despair. And she has like really the low threshold with with the thing that I could spiral her into depths of despair, like because her mental state at this point like is really poor. In the end, nothing had changed. In the closed-off world of Hojo High School, there was not a single person who would understand her, acknowledge her, and leave her alone like she wanted. But my question is, does she really wants anyone? I mean, not anyone, but that the person who would understand her, acknowledge her, just leave her alone. Like, what's the point of that person? In a way, if they just like couldn't abandon her afterwards. But putting it that way, it's obvious to anyone that the friction between her and her surroundings was something she had brought on herself. But since Kazusa didn't count herself as anyone, she kept repeating the same mistakes as if it were a early tradition. It had already been 2 years since she looked up at the sky on the day of the entrance ceremony. Tomokazu still hated the sky. She always hated the spring sky, decorated with thin clouds. She hated the teachers, the students, everyone and everything around her. She had reason enough to hate every single thing that might enter her field of vision. That's why Tomokazu hated that familiar male student more than anything. There were 3 music rooms in Hojo High School. Music room 1 in the main school building was used for the regular programs, music classes during the day, and for the music lab after school. Music room 3 in the new building was occupied exclusively by the music program throughout the day, and with its location so far removed from the regular program. Regular students never went near it. And then there was music room 2, which was only used by her because of the major misunderstanding between the regular students and the music program students, as we know. This place next to the music room 1 was used by the music program class when they were still based in the main building. Presently, it was not used for any classes or club activities, so it was locked up all day around. It would have been perfectly reasonable to allow some of the various music clubs to use it after school, but there was a reason for neither the students nor the teachers raised a fuss about it. It had nothing to do with some urban legend or ghost story, but rather a result of various misunderstanding and opinions about the room. So pretty much just like just what I just said, like. The regular program students assumed that the room was still reserved for the music program, as it had once been. The music program students no longer saw any value in the existence of the room, and the teachers avoided the subject of the room's current user. Today, yet again, the tones of the piano rang out from the closed music room too. The opening ceremony was in a week's time. Even now, in her third year, having transferred into the regular program, Kazusa inhabited this classroom. Whenever, during or after school, the master of music room too. Sounds a bit like some sort of curse, like. Because if you remember how she got to be here in the first place. The guitar solo from Forbidden Games floated in the wind, weaving its way through the gaps between the piano's notes. In spring 2 years ago, when Nakasa was first brought here, it was really a day to be commemorated. She had chased out her teacher, taking an exclusive ownership of the room, making a definite her own assessments of herself as the audacious problem child who uses her parents' fame and donations as a shield to hide behind. So she made sure to like push people away from herself because she didn't want to be hurt. Because it does sounds like this. That's to me like. Since then, the classroom became a taboo subject even to those involved. And the grand piano was no less than 3 million yen. Yeah, but makes sense since pianos are like not the most cheap thing to buy. Like that, Kazu's mother donated become her own personal plaything. Kazusa never returned the key to the classroom, choosing to come and go at her own leisure, spending countless hours playing the piano and countless other instruments scattered around the classroom. The guitar moved on 2 years today. Since the competition 2 years ago, Kazusa had never stood on stage as a pianist. In fact, after that day, Kazusa stopped enjoying playing the piano, and so this was neither a practice or no recreation. It was simply a force of habit. Because like she doesn't have anything else as a habit, like or as a hobby, like she. Because that's like the only thing she knows, like to play the music in some way. She didn't aim to improve her technique, worry about any mistakes, or lament the rustiness of her skill. She merely played without thinking, or perhaps she played to avoid thinking. She played with her whole heart and soul to erase every distasteful, painful, and sorrowful memory from her mind. That also meant that all the fun and happy memories were erased all the same. But that wasn't worthy. But that was not worth worrying about. Nothing fun or happy had happened to her recently anyway. The guitar moved on to White Album. Oh, is it gonna be the moment when the three of them play together? That's what I wonder about. Oh, for the god's sake. However, that day Kazusa slammed at the piano keys in frustration as if she had forgotten not to think about anything. Of course, her frustration didn't stem from her own skill. It was so crappy. She simply couldn't understand how unskilled the guitar sounds blowing through the window were. She had been hearing that sound. Yeah, but... Yeah, but I could imagine just how crappy how his playing sounded to him. If her hearing was tuned to the music like from the very start, like. She had been hearing that sound every evening the past few days. Once the wind ensemble and Chora had finished their practice, there was a single person who stayed behind in music room 1. His fumbling guitar solo overlapping with Kaz's smooth piano. And that's how they started to play together. Honestly, it was beyond annoying. It was probably some first year student who decided to pick it up the guitar to form a band. But the lack of technique and talent was unbearable for Kazus, who had been blessed with both since birth. It had started to take a toll on her own performance, and the sense that the sounds were fleeing from her fingertips was sapping Kazus' will to keep performing. I'm going home. The guitar continued stumbling through White Album. Elsa put her hands over her ears, absolutely determined not to hear any more of that racket, and hardly left the building. Along the way home, she made up her mind to soothe her exhausted brain by giving it a massive amount of sugar. Tomokazu loved pudding. Actually, she loved everything sweet, not just pudding. Yeah, she has quite a sweet tooth, as you could remember from the introductory chapter with this just how much sugar she put in her coffee. That was it again, like 5 or 6 spoonfuls of sugar per cup. She didn't know whether it was because she had inherited her own mother's enormous sweet tooth, or whether it was a result of her mother being the one who fed her, but this childish palate had never changed. First in a fearsome battle with her dental health tenfold. Okay, like... okay, we surely have foreshadowing that someday Kazusa's teeth are gonna fall out. Yeah, like... It's like... Big brain prediction from me. It's like... Well, no. There had been one little change. An astonishing change. She had become even more devoted to sweet things that she had been before. Understandably, she avoided spicy things. Okay. Doesn't sound like we would get along with her, because I love spicy things. Which she had never liked in the first place. But recently her tastes had come to repel bitter and sour things as well. Yeah, we totally wouldn't get along, cause I like my sour stuff. And hot things, and cold things for that matter, had largely been removed, further narrowing her food options from a list that was holiday lacking in variety. And that's how she ended up eating only like hamburgers. Ice cream gave away to cake and pudding, lemon tea to milk tea. And she stopped drinking carbonated drinks and fruit juice. One special exception was coffee, but even that was most likely a front put on for her surroundings. As if she did not disguise it with heaps of sugar and creamer, her throat couldn't handle the bitterness and heat. Yeah. Because, yeah, like, absolutely sounds like the opposite of me, because I'm exactly that kind of guy who likes his coffee either without any sugar, or like with just 1 spoon of sugar, like, and nothing else. At present, Kazusa herself paid no mind to what was apparently a single change in the preference. But if a counselor or psychiatrist were to examine her, they might have realized that the darkness in her heart was having a serious impact on her palate. Yeah, but it does sound like she stopped caring about even about the food, like. And this shows like just how bad her mental health is. Like that he realizing it. Yeah, hey there, like, and as you could see, I'm going through the side novel, the one about Kazusa. I think it was named The Snow Melts and Falls Again. I think that was the name. Screaming out that at least her palate should go on without any stimulation. Screaming out that at least her tongue can avoid pain. Yeah, but the more I'm reading, like, the more I understand why I struggle to read Kazusa, like, because in a way she sounds like the opposite of me. Even her like tastes in the food like exactly opposite of mine. Another one of those coming right up. Now indifferent to the science casts down her second pudding and calmly ordered a third. But if you wonder where I currently lead at, it's the part right after she started playing together with Haruki, like the first time she accompanied his grabby guitar playing. That's the moment I'm currently at. Like, now, indifferent to this science, Kazusa downed her second pudding and calmly ordered a third. Pudding was her favorite food, regardless of type, ingredients, or price. But the pudding listed on the recommendations menu at this restaurant goodies. And Minami Setsugu was her number one. I think that's gonna be like a lot of a tough love with this characters, but alright. Okay, I hope my stream is still up, like, cause because compared to anyone else, the pudding here was so sweet and flavorful that any first-time customer would ask themselves why such a thing would even be on the recommended menu. But I think this is definitely helpful to me to understand Kazusa better. It's still tough for me to see from her perspective, like, even with this, but it does provides me some insight about why she acts the way she does. Then, right as Kazusa was bringing the final bite to her mouth, with a faintly blissful expression that no one would ever see from her at school. I'm telling you, you don't have to think that hard about it. We're all just going to hang out. From right behind you, voices reached her. Voices that she had heard just recently somewhere. What's this about? You never even said a word to me until the second year, Izuka-kun. Well, you know, Yui-chan, you were dating Takada, weren't you? So it's like Takia right there. You seemed to know a lot, because I had my eye on you. It came as a pretty big shock, but when I found out you had a boyfriend. Rattling off the same shallow lines she had heard somewhere before that set her teeth on edge. I see, and now you have got your hands on the latest scoop that we broke up. You're sharp. Cass turned her head carefully so that the speakers wouldn't notice, and found a couple dressed in the Hojo High School uniforms chatting lightheartedly. Cass, I guess, was half right. She recognized the boy. What? So it's just Haruki with together with Takia. But I'm glad that I got to see Taki here. Yeah, but it does sound like she had like extremely abnormal background, and especially with your mother being quite a neglectful parent. She had no means to learn any social skills like at all. What? So you thought this was your chance? You thought I would just leap into someone else's arm? I mean, it does sounds like a crazy bit in a way. Albeit, I think around her age I used to be like a Tomoya from Clanat, so like that's a bit relatable to me. Well, I mean, hating a ridiculous thing like the sky in her case, so like, or how Tomoya and I like hated the concept of town, like the both sounds like ridiculous things to hate it, like, but that's how it is. Um, what what? So you thought this was your chance? You thought I would just slip into someone else's arms? If you want to leap into my arms, by all means, feel free. What if I told you I'm not that easy? So wait, it's not a Haruki? Yeah, but it does sound like a Haruki is there, like it is. He's present there in this scene. Because I doubt Oshi would recognize anyone but him, like. What if I told you I'm not that easy? An opportunity to test my powers of persuasion? More than welcome. You're good at this, Izuka-kun. I have heard a lot of all sorts of stuff from Saba-chan. Well, why don't we see whenever any of it is wrong? Wait. She probably just remembers Taki. This. It kind of surprises me here because for a while I thought that there's like someone she wouldn't even remember in the first place. That slender build, really light brown hair and wheedling voice and tone brought back yesterday's memory. Yesterday's memory vividly. It was the boy who had persistently stuck around here on her way home yesterday. That's why she was able to remember him. Thomas-san from Class C, right? Mizuko Taki from Class G. Maybe you have heard of me? Oh, perhaps you know Haruki then? Kitahara Haruki, the guy who sits next to you. I'm friend of his. He told me about him. So I decided to talk to you because I'm interested in getting to know you. I have to admit I'm surprised. I didn't know we had any girls of your level in our year. Man, I should have had my cards revoked for not noticing you. Where you headed? Why don't we grab some team if you have got a minute? Oh, I don't really mean anything deep about that. I just want to chat a little. You're the shy type. I see. Takeshu is like a smooth talker, but like that's not something that is gonna work on Toma. That's not how you deal with him. You were in the music program until last year, right? We don't get a lot of people transferring into the regular program. I mean, sure, like you can provide some explanation as I go. By the way, you related to Tomoyoka at all? Because even if I have like certain opinions about something like and a certain view of things, I still appreciate a different perspective from my own. Because it does helps me to understand things better. It sounded like the guy was ready to keep on yammering at her like that forever. But Kaz had to stop him there. With a sharp roundhouse kick. Yeah, but that's kind of on him there. Well, if you promise it won't be just the two of us, I will think about it. Oh, that's fine by me. I love a big fun group. How about it then? Sometime during Golden Week. But today he seemed to be getting a response from with far more potential than yesterday's catch. The girl sitting across from him during half of Kazu's guess. Someone she assumed she didn't know, but that in fact sat 2 seats ahead of her had a lively bounce in her voice, showing that she was enjoying clashing verbal thoughts with him. In the other words, there was clearly a spark. So in the third, how about 10 o'clock that morning in front of the Minami Setsugu ticket gate? I will find someone to invite alone, and I will call you when I have decided. Great, let's swap numbers. Now, boss, uncomfortable and in a bad mood after being forced to hear a shallow boy-girl conversation like this, Kazuse resigned herself to moving somewhere else and stood up slowly, so the two of them wouldn't spot him. Really? Kitahara-kun? I'm not so sure about him. And I guess she's gonna get more interested in what's gonna happen on the third. Right there. And that name with which she had become so familiar lately froze her the why? Kitahara-kun, he's the class rep, right? She was forced to hear that name for the second time in a row. The first boy who had spoken to her in the class, the tactless pushy class rep. The only classmate who still insisted on talking to her, even though she had decided to isolate herself. The friend of the shallow guy. The shallow guy, like... To be honest, I remember that you asked me about my opinion in regards to... Tak. Alright, so about Taki, I definitely respect the guy, like, cause despite him being like being a bit carefree from time to time, like, and I mean, it's a bit like a facade of his, and him being a womanizer. The guy is really insightful when the things get serious, like. And he earned a lot of he earned a lot of respect from me because there was that scene when he tried to convince Haruki to get his shit together, despite Haruki not liking anything that Taki said to him. But in spite of that, Taki still confronted him there. Because what he wanted in the end was to Haruki to stop torturing himself, like, and lying to himself. I mean, yeah, he's a good friend, but like as a person, I don't know, like, but as a friend, he is good. Like, he's really good, bro. Like, to Haruki. The snitch who sold her out to him, the embodiment of nosiness who dug up the fact that she was originally in the music program and Tomoyoko's daughter to boot. The nasty calculating scumbag who approached you precisely because he knew. All of Kazu's anger collected around the perfectly remembered name Kitahara Haruki, even more than it did around the guy in front of him. Her very first impression of him remained, this is all his demon fault. Yeah, I can't think. Yeah, I can't think of any girl who'd wanted to invite him. Why? Something wrong with him? I mean, you got my meaning, don't you? Yes, I know very well. He's not bad looking though, right? Don't worry. We'll do something about the clothes. No, he looks fine, but isn't he annoying? Yeah, blatantly annoying. Like, he just randomly showed up at my house the other day. He said he looked me up in the address book. That sounds just like him. Yeah, but in a way it sounds like a really absurd thing to do. Like, cause sure the guy is like was a class representative for a while, but hmm. The best I like my floated characters like because it's quite a boring when everyone is like is being perfect. And it's really a cool thing that when float character has a proper reason for acting the way they do. Like, and hopefully by the end of this, I would be able to really understand Tomo to understand Kazusa better. Yeah. Were you absent from school that day, or did you forget something? Well, yeah. Um, okay, yeah, I was absent. I was at a big concert that night before. He was probably coming to check up on you then. Yeah, but what about showing consideration? Yep, that guy is fatally lacking when it comes to showing restraint around others. Did he come in? Did he force you to make a tea for him? No, he went right home, but like, yes, but his extreme interference in other people's um, lives produces nothing but a laughing. Sorry, something else come up. I'm gonna go. Yeah? Yeah? At that moment, the word she had been muttering to herself unconsciously fell out of her mouth. Sounds like Taki didn't take well the things the girl said about Hurricane. Yeah, but I'm gonna give him a props here for this. At that moment, the word she had been muttering to herself unconsciously fell out of her mouth because the smooth further lightness of her speech, of his speech, had suddenly taken on an unpleasant weight. Here's my part of the bill. I had fun today. I'll be going now. Wait, Izuka-kun. The girl made a slightly flustered attempt to stop him, perhaps having picked up on the same weight that Kazusa had noticed. We haven't settled on everything for the hangout yet. Who's gonna be there? Alright, that, what do you mean, alright, that? Sorry, I have a lot of my plate that day. Yeah, like, good job. Good, like, yeah, well done, Taki. I'm like, well done. See you next time. But he clearly had no interest in listening to what she had to say anymore. What are you so mad about? Listen, yeah? the guy does stupid things that like the stuff like this saves him a big time in my eyes. You have only been in the same class for a couple more weeks. Don't talk about Haruki like you know him. What are you talking about? Seriously, what was he talking about? Wasn't Haruki the weird one for going to visit someone he had only been classmates with for a couple weeks just because she missed a day? At least wait until you have known him for half a year before you judge him. Bye. Wait, head on. Is Kakun your accent completely different from how you just were? Hey, wait, I said, is Kakun quickly walked right past Kazusa. But even though Kazusa was sitting right there, he didn't notice him. He just left the restaurant with a dry look on his face, as if he had completely lost interest in the other girl. For that very reason, Kazusa couldn't take her eyes off him, because some part of her felt irrationally as if that condescending look was directed at him. Yeah, because she found the things that the other girls said are quite relatable. That's on her here. What the hell was that? Is he dumb or something? The frustrated yell that loose by the deserted girl could have come from Kazusa one day before. Yeah, but that's on her, like. Good job being stood up because you can't, like, keep your mouth shut and just shit-talking people for no reason. Because she was doing nothing more than representing Kazusa's own impression. The words that came out of her mouth were Kazusa's words. Therefore, Kazusa understood. No, she experienced the same feeling. A place of humiliation and an overwhelming desire to run away, as if she had been doused with cold water. This were again the emotions brought about in her by that Kitahara Haruki, the class representative Toma. She was dreaming, a strange dream that could be seen as either wonderful or terrible. She was an ant, drowning in sweet honey. That's quite a dream to have there. Toma, hey, wake up. Released from her ultimate choice, life or sugar, Kazusa wiped off the tears and saliva that had dribbled out and turned to face the one who had brought her back to reality. Good morning. It's rare to see you here before class starts. Huh? You don't have to say that loudly. It wasn't Sai. She was about to say Kitahara Haruki and hurriedly cut herself off. How many years had it been since she last memorized someone's full name? Good morning. Good morning, Toma. The bell is about to ring. Sit up. Her attempting to continue sleeping, even though she was being addressed, the way she begrudgingly stretched her attitude of their interests, it's all half bluff. So just her putting a facade, like, when shocked this way. Yeah, that's interesting, like, because for a lot of time there I felt like it's not just a facade, like, and show she's just bored out of her mind a lot of times and likes to sleep. She certainly didn't want to be interfered with right any further. But even more than that, she didn't want anyone to figure out that she had taken a tiny bit of interest in this boy. Look, I'm sorry for waking you up, but the career interests survey is due at lunch today. Yeah? I'll be collecting them for the teacher. I figured you probably threw out the form. So, so here's the new one. Elodie filled in what I know, like your name. Oh, it's another flashback from the game, like blatant meddling, cloying friendliness, transparent noisiness. Compared to Kazusa's previous experiences, this was the most similar to the ulterior motives of the adults who swarmed around him. No, around the Thomas family status, fame and fortune. And look at what you write. It will go straight in the envelope, and I won't take a peek whatsoever. So well, please fill out before the lunch. And yet Kazusa couldn't spot any sign of self-interest in his words or actions, which made her feel indescribably ill at ease. Yeah, but the looking at Haruki from someone else's perspective makes me more aware of just how ridiculous he came so far for the other people, like stuff like this. It's like why the guy even cares about all of this, like, and why he takes things so seriously, like. Yeah, because he just interacts with her like she's just Kazusa. She's not like the daughter of Tomayoko, like or Toma Kazusa. I mean, with emphasis on her being Toma, or rich girl, like, or a genius pianist. Like she's just Toma, like the girl Toma. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, he started to, I mean, she started to give a crap about him because he acknowledged her as just a random girl, like. This his sole agenda being like to help her feel deform, like, and not without some deep ulterior motive, like. No, don't just roll it up. Fill it in properly. I'm not interested in this. As a result, she took an intentionally defiant attitude, defiant in a way that was different from a month ago, lighter, not wholly rejecting his interference. If you want, you can just write a university, find employment, or just I haven't decided yet. The teacher said that you should at least write your current thoughts or lack therefor. Besides, if you are so interested in bothering me, why don't you go collect everyone else's forms? I picked everyone's forms up yesterday. Yours is the last one. There are about 3 people absent yesterday. Weren't there? I gave them a phone call and picked the forms up at their houses. They filled them out even though they were sick. Stupid? Yeah, it still sounds like crazy stuff to do, like, because that's not how usually your class representative acts, like. At least in my case, it was like this, like, the class representative is that kind of dude you remember ex- existing like only twice a year, like when the school starts and when it ends, like. As always, she was decently irritated by what he was doing, but strangely, the school number one stickler for the rules had held the admiration of the most frivolous guy at school. Yeah, I know that it was the flashback scene from the game, but like now it's it's interesting to read it from her perspective because it kind of not only it provides some insight in about how she was perceiving the hierarchy and people around her, but also it shows just how abnormal hierarchy actually is, like, despite him calling himself like a normal person, like, and the most average guy like we could find around. Because I still couldn't comprehend this contradiction. This close friendship between two people of such polar opposite personalities, with no apparent common ground. That's a cruel thing to say. Our classmates are all serious, you know. What do you think I'm talking about? And because she couldn't comprehend it, she hesitated to hate him more than she did. She could not shake the worry that she was operating under some enormous misunderstanding. Besides, the school is affiliated with a university, so you can write down enrolling in Hojo University. They could not care less if you just wrote that down. There is just no way I'm going there. She muttered to herself, pretending to talk back, while looking into his face, casually but deliberately, with upturned eyes. So you don't want to lie. You're more sincere than I thought. I'm impressed. Hmm. Now when I think about it, like this triangle of theirs was like never meant to go like in a good way. Like it was bound to end up in a shitty way, like from the very start, like because at least the 2 out of 3 people have like absolutely dysfunctional families and doesn't know how to deal with this kind of stuff. And lack any common sense. I mean, uh, that kind of common sense that would be able provide them with some means to figure out how to deal with this situation they found themselves in. So you don't want to lie? You're more sincere than I thought. I'm impressed. Don't jump to your own conclusions and see me in a better light. It's annoying. No matter how hard I look at him, he's just average, completely ordinary. He's not ugly enough to make me want to look away. Nor is he handsome enough to make me stare at him. Granted, the guys in either of those extremes probably make up less than 1% of all men. Yeah, it's like this is literally like because like in the end, like most of people just like the average like have average looks, but or like conventionally attractive, like that's how we call it. Yeah, about Season, like yeah, let's save it for the later, because I think this time we were more focused on Kazusa and the hero situation overall. If you don't want people to reevaluate their opinion of you, just going along with the flow would work out better, you know. What are you saying? But maybe he's just a tiny bit above average. Maybe he's like 5.5 or a 6 instead of just a 5. Mm, man, I would never get this kind of mentality with, well, I mean, like a mindset with rating people like about their looks. Like, nah, I just don't understand it. Look, that way people wouldn't be so impressed when you give a rare display of conduct and evaluate you more normally, right? I have no intention of letting anyone evaluate me. I think maybe it's Japanese thing, but like I have seen like not only Japanese people do that, like just evaluating people like based on their looks. Like it's really strange to me. Like because I think it's really tough to objectively rate someone on freaking scale from 1 to 10, and even aside from that, the whole thing's kind of really wrong to me. I have no intention of letting everyone evaluate me. As a proof, I might not be captivated by him, but looking at him up this close isn't terrible either. Actually, I could probably keep on looking at him like this. I don't recommend filling out the form during the class. If you can try to get it done before the first bell. Honestly, no clue. Like, as you could clearly hear, I'm not a girl. It's like, yeah. So no clue. Like, if they actually do that. You really no. Maybe it's a mistake for me to try to make that judgment in the first place. I've never concerned myself with guys my age, or of any age for that matter. Like I used to hang out with a bunch of girls, but I don't remember them ever talking about stuff like this. Not even this, who might be my father. I don't have any interest in myself, let alone other people. Why would I try to evaluate someone else? But in that case, where should I look instead? What should I use to decide what's good or bad about him? And what kind of effect will the outcome of that decision have on me? Well, this decision could have an effect on the rest of your life, so sounds a bit like So you can think about it for a little longer. I will leave it up to your then. That kind of phrase I usually don't buy into it. Like suddenly returning to herself, Kazusa hurriedly dropped her eyes to the paper in front of her and started writing intently. Good. Her own revulsion at how she was acting and thinking had sent a chill down her spine. She was acting like some little girl, staring at the young man who was right in front of her and letting thoughts of him run through her mind. Kitahara. That's not how I imagined her thoughts would be like in this scene. Yeah, that's something. That's not definitely something I have expected. Is there something you're not sure how to fill out? I will do as you ask, so you can at least listen to one of my requests. Of course. If there is anything bothering you, I'm sure I can help. If I ignore you from now on, don't worry about it. I'm just extremely annoyed and disgusted. I see. Ridiculous. I can be interested in someone. That's completely ridiculous. Here. I'm done. Take it. Wow. Don't throw it at me. You should turn it over first. I don't care who idolizes this guy. It doesn't matter how much appeal he has as a person. This is a problem that exerts absolutely no influence on the world I live in. Also, I think you're gonna understand why Kazusa raps me off the wrong way as you're gonna get to the third part where I explicitly talked about what's my problem with him. I was kind of a bit harsh there, but like you're probably gonna get a better idea why I used to when why I used to have a beef with you quite often. I don't really care if you look at it. Just wrote enrolling in Hojuk University, like you said. Are you going to? Who knows? I see. If I don't keep that distinction, it only get me in trouble. Though a familiar way his acting is abnormal in the first place. Yeah, yeah, man. Like it's and Haide, like it's it's like absolutely like just pure wall of text, like, and me going with my thoughts, like. Um, okay, I'm gonna like explain it in a bit like I'm gonna shorten my explanation basically like I had a beef with Kazusa because I perceived her behavior as some sort of victim mentality, like the victim mindset when she couldn't she just like so stuck up with in her past that she can't acknowledge the people around her and couldn't bring himself to treat them like actual people. Like this one is interesting. Like it does provide some insight into why Kazusa does acts the way she does. It does, in fact. Albeit, I still would have loved them to delve deeper about the stuff related to her mother. But maybe it's just something they saved for the later part of closing chapter or like Okoda, I think. Also, if you're wondering where I'm currently at, it's like it's a second flashback from the introductory chapter. Like, I mean, the second flashback Haruki had, like, about him helping Kazusa to fill out the form for the university. Like, I mean, like, what she's gonna do after the school. Yeah, that's about her future plans. Like, I don't really care if you look at it. Just wrote enrolling in Hojuk University, like you said. Are you going to? Who knows? I see. If I don't keep that distinction, it will only get me in trouble. Though a familiar way he's acting is abnormal in the first place. If I go easy on him, there is no knowing how he might take advantage of me. Are we done here? I'm going back to sleep then. Sorry. One last thing. What? I get it. From now on, I won't mind if you ignore me or anything. Okay. She had meant to draw the line, and yet at the moment she heard his words of resignation, and what a flicker of displeasure appeared on Kazusa's face. So please don't hold it against me if I keep on rambling anyway, Toma. Yeah. She had meant to draw the line, yet the moment she heard his words entirely lacking in resignation, the blood and displeasure splashed itself all over Kazusa's face. Good morning, Toma. Great weather we are having today, huh? I think I did, in fact, soften up a bit on her after I learned what kind of background she had, like with her mother practically neglecting her and and that she was forced to play piano, like since she was free. But in a way, it's still like it still pissed off me a lot. Why? Like, sure, I get it that she has like a tough past to her, like she has some sort of trauma, like, but it just usually I don't like that kind of people who like go about things with having a trauma, but they really can't treat people around them with kindness. Yeah, that's. I think I have a long road before I'm gonna glaze Kazusa. Like, here I'm just hoping to get a better understanding of her, like, and it's totally fine that we don't have we don't share the same perspective on her actions here. Like, it's totally fine. I'm like, I just genuinely respect the people who have like their own opinions. Yeah, but I doubt I'm gonna become the Kazusa Glazer with this. Just wait a second, Kitahara. That's not how the promise. I'll do as you ask. So, isn't it only fair that you listen to one of my requests? This isn't just one thing. How shameless can you be? Toma, don't tell me you just noticed that now. Kazusa cursed. She cursed her own foolishness for being aligned with someone this irritating and over-friendly. Over the course of next month, Kazusa gradually came to understand that those who depended on Kitahara Haruki and those who avoided him were divided into two clear groups with clear trends. I'm not sure how we're gonna flare if we're gonna do that. Like, yeah, but I think we would fare pretty poorly if we especially if we're gonna post some stuff from part 3 and part 4, I think, of my playthrough. We're gonna die, like. And to be honest, I'm glad that you like I get it that your Kazus is fun, but like you kind of you're pretty like respectful about this, like, and you make sure to explain your perspective. And especially with stuff like this, you're trying to show me why you like Kazusa so much, like. And just as I said, basically, I respect people who have their own opinions. Yeah, that's the thing, like. Even if I might disagree with them, like, on something. I kinda liked Marie, like, but not sure how her out will go, like. Over the course of the next month, Kazusa gradually came to understand that those who depended on Kitahara Haruki and those who avoided him were divided into clear groups with clear trends. As Kazusa was a newcomer to the regular program this year, she struggled at first to get a clue, but once she realized it was a conclusion easily reached just by looking over the student roster handed out each year. It wasn't a matter of gender, grades, or personality, but rather of the makeup of last year's classes, and the year before last year's. That is to say, a difference between those who had experience being in class with him before as first or second year students and those who hadn't. The latter tried to distance himself from Kitahara Haruki, hated the way he meddled, reacted negatively to his lectures, and were utterly exasperated with the way he continued to involve himself with them regardless. And the former had given up on trying to fight Kitahara from the get-to-go and trusted him fully. Because they know that like it's pointless to try to but their own heads with him because the guy is a mule like. Hayasaki, who had been appointed to the sports day committee at the day's endorsement against his will, had been skipping required meetings, neglecting to make preparations, and even with the event a mere week away, the players participating in each match had yet to be decided on. In the other words, he had created an absolutely wretched situation. Yeah. Chikushi doesn't sound like someone who is like good at what he is appointed to do. Like he's not good with management, and he's just kind of that kind of carefree guy who like just happened to be there along the ride. At this moment of crisis for the class, Kitahara swooped in and backed him up completely without any fussing or panicking. I hope I would be able to enjoy Mario out more, like, cause I like Mario, and I hope it's gonna go well, like, with her out for me, cause I'm not gonna expect too much out of it, but like, just hope I'm gonna have fun with it. Well, maybe the ratio of the arrangements he made was a little too high to call it backing up. Kitahara attended all the necessary meetings in Hayasaka Place, finished getting the program in order, got the private consent of all the main members to select. Oh man, like... So it's like... Yeah, I just hope I'm gonna be able to enjoy it, like... But I'm probably gonna enjoy it way more than I ever did with Subarashiki Hibi. Because, like... Even, like, if you're gonna get to the most... the shittest part of White Album 2, I'm still gonna have way more fun with this visual novel that I ever did with Subarashiki Hibi. Absolutely hate Subarashiki Hibi. Like, it's like the shittest visual novel in my opinion. Kitahara attended all the necessary meetings in Hayasaka Place, finished getting the program in order, got the private consent of all the main members to select the athletes, and on his own brought things to point in which all that remained was a classified vote. And after carrying all the... Yes! That's what we're doing, like. And after carrying all of this out silently, he at last broke his silence lecture in his second length after homeroom. Also, welcome to all the people who pop up on my stream, like reading the side novel for White Album 2, the one which is dedicated to Kazusa. Hayasaka, who had completely humiliated himself, refused to back down, even though he was plainly entirely in the wrong, and rather than just ignore Kitahara's lecture, he lashed back outright, bringing the atmosphere to an explosive state. Kitahara didn't fight back. However, no did he win act shocked. He just earnestly pointed out all of his problems and suggested that he work on sports day together. Yeah, kinda props to Haruki being understanding guy here. But unable to back down, once he had gone on the offensive, Hayasaka got even more heated. And thus remained optimistic in the critical situation where the former of the two groups mentioned above, Kitahara's previous victims who had been in a class with him before. They had known from the start how to get along with Kitahara, and they understood him extraordinarily well. That's why they didn't freak out over the incident and accommodated Hayasaka. At least they treated him as best as they could, with the circumstances remaining up in the air. I mean, sure, like there are people who can enjoy super heavy, but like, absolutely can stand it. Like, it just feels like insult to the concept of visual novel itself. Like, absolutely hated like everything about it. Like, yeah, it's yeah, that shit is absurd. Like, that kind of glazing like is absurd. And they understood. My bad. All they could offer was support that wasn't really a support. Getting angry is pointless. If you take everything he says seriously, you will end up pulling all your hair out. He wants the short end of the stick, so please just settle this now. 1 week later, settled with these problems, sport day took place. That day, Kazusa came to understand yet another thing. After skipping all of the events and killing time in music room 2, she looked out the window at the evening schoolyard and saw a group of noisy third-year students entering the post-sports day grounds with drinks. The most boisterous among them were from their own class, Class E. At the most roused up of all of them, Hayasaka had a drink in one hand, probability, and his other arm was slung around Kitahara, who was drinking something quietly, probability. It looked from here like Kitahara was still lecturing him about something. The same as ever, but now Hayasaka, as if in a scant few days he had come to understand, simply let it pass smoothly, running with laughter. At least wait until you have known him for half a year before you judge him. Else I didn't want to remember what the shallow guy had said, but it came back to her anyway. As if you wonder what the shallow guy she's mentioning here, it's Takia. Because there was a scene a bit back then how Takia straight up left the date with a girl he tried to score with after she started to badmouth Haruki. And this phrase is exactly what he thrown at her during that scene. Starting the next week, the vibe in the classroom was markedly different. The stiffness in the air between Haruki and a certain group of students vanished, and they all began turning to him readily, pushing the most trivial things on him and letting the forthcoming lectures from him go in one ear and out the other, laughing every time. Beyond that all, there might have been the negative possibility of his falling to the status of class handyman. However, the attitude and mood of those all around was thoroughly bright, with no sarcasm or spite anymore, and any inclination to ridicule or reject his sincerity had been purged. And most notably, Hayasaka, one of the primary parties concerned, had begun to address Kitahara as Haruki, and in response, Kitahara had begun to call him Chikasha as well. So, like, they got on friendly terms with each other, like. Everyone acknowledged Kitahara Haruki as an indispensable member of the class, and that's how Haruki regained his place in the class as the most dependable guy. Actually, probably none of them were aware of that constructive shift in sentiment. They all assumed that they were handling their nagging class rep the same as always did. Kasa was the only one who recognized the change in atmosphere as a change. because she was the least necessary person in the class, the only outsider watching the sports day event from high up, and the girl who spent the most time looking at Kitahara Haruki, and the one who didn't talk with him much, because she doesn't understand how to properly approach him. For the past while, Kazuse had never taken her eyes off him. Making use of the fact that she was ignored by the rest of the class, she made a big show of pretending to nap during class and during breaks. Face down on the desk while through the gaps between her arms, she watched the side of his face and picked up all the voices whispering around him. Had her mother, who had poured so much money into the skills she cultivated through the piano, breadth of view, acuteness of ear, known that they were being put to this kind of use. Yeah, like her mom would probably be molding, like, what would she have thought, like? Leaving that aside, Kazuse cut down on her precious sleeping time to write the following report on Kitahara. Kitahara Haruki leaves a terrible first impression on everyone he meets. That is because people instinctively avoid his repulsive personality. Anyone who holds a favorable impression of him from the start either has very strange taste or is an idiot. Okay, so Hayasaka is an idiot. You got this confirmed. Such a person has never shown up and will never show up. However, he returns that first impression in a matter of days and earns the approval of everyone around him. He makes this happen through careful, meticulous persuasion using dirty, cowardly tricks like the devil itself. Yeah. Haruki is not that kind of guy. I would describe as the devil itself. Like, he deliberately causes trouble within the group. However, he deliberately causes trouble within the group that includes him. Now it makes more sense. Like, it's a bit a jump on herself. Like, and by resolving the trouble himself, he flips around the other person's assessment of him. People put him on such a high pedestal because his troublesome nature granites his act. In addition, because everyone's spirits are swept up in the midst of incident, they can't make level-headed decisions. In this way, he steadily increases his supporters, and before you know it, he comes to rule the group. Kazuse was no mind to present this dreadful research results anywhere, nor to try to save any of the people whom Kitahara had tainted. After all, her research of him was just a way to kill time. Yes, these were terrifying truths, but as long as none of the dust fell on Kazuse, it wasn't her business or her problem. As long as she kept her head down and slept in the class, erasing her own presence as much as possible, she wouldn't come under his influence. Neither would she be targeted by his devotees. She was optimistic about this. Good morning, Toma, and happy birthday. It's today, right? May 28th. Yeah, happy birthday. Well, mine is in April. So I won't treat you as my elder or anything. And I assume he looked up her birthday like in the class journal, like. So when he spoke to her that day, she walked away at a pace brisker than usual, fighting back the urge to scream, where the hell did you find that out, you stalker? Yeah, but it's a bit creepy, like, that she didn't told him anything, like, and he somehow, like, went about this like happy birthday like out of nowhere. 2 days later, when she saw Kitahara giving birthday greetings to another classmate, she recalled and knew that he was just like this with everyone. And without getting excessively self-conscious, she experienced a deep sense of relief. So much relief, in fact, that she found herself kicking the classroom trash can with all her might. And the guy probably just thinks like, that's what a class representative is supposed to do, like. Because that's usually what he wins in cases like this. She had meant to continue on like that, not drawing attention, always ignoring Kitahara no matter how many times he came and talked to her. But circumstances didn't progress the way Kazusa wanted. The ones he had brainwashed had started looking at her with lukewarm eyes. In fact, she had actually started to hear people mutter disgusting things like, we can just leave Tomasan to Kitahara-kun. In particular, when she heard this lines slip out from the female students who normally derisively called him Mr. Class Rep. When Kazusa, who was so aloof and solitary, lost sleep from the despair of being left behind. With all of this, the number of classmates who spoke to her clearly decreased. Oh. With all of this, her irritation with a certain classmate yeah, she surely gets a lot like fixated on Haruki right there. But it does make sense since it's like the only person she knows how to interact with. At least, I mean, the only person who interacts with her like in a proper way. The only one who spoke to her increased rapidly. Kitahara had gotten support from his devotees when it came to handling matters related to her. And being the responsible and dutiful person he was, he spoke to Kazusa almost every day, interfered with her life, worried over her, advised her, and attempted to protect her on various fronts from the teachers and the school. Kazusa found herself driven into a corner under such stress that she had considered more than once yelling, "What, are you into me or something?" at him, ripping his pride and her own image to shreds, pouring a little derision onto both of them. If I'm not sure because like in a way like checking out everyone's birthdays like this and I think actually you're in the wrong here because I do remember Haruki saying like that remembering someone contact information, addresses, and a bunch of stuff like this is and he meant like everyone in his class is perfectly normal like stuff to do for class representative. So I'm pretty much sure that he like memorized all this trivia like about every single person in his class, like because it's that was like a part of his monologue like back in introductory chapter. I'm gonna say that I have trouble with reading Haruki. Because also, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna talk to that idiot just once. I will tell him not to bug me anymore, not to talk to me anymore. I will tell him never to try to deceive me again. And if he still refuses to comply, I will just have to resolve it with force. Because this is my limit. But to be honest, maybe I do have troubles to understand Haruki properly, because the guy is like a really unreliable narrator. He says one bullshit to himself, but then like does completely opposite. And right after switches and does the thing that contradicts what he did before, like, and it's tough to understand what him, because like he's really confusing a lot of times. And if he still refuses to comply, I will just have to resolve it with force. Yeah, but my main gripe is him because he just can't decide on one thing, like, and sometimes it's just driving me insane. Because this is my limit. On the verge of telling him everything that's on my mind. Toma, how much of burden do you plan to put on Kitahara? Yeah? But Skazusa held this was an interference on Kitahara's behalf came at her from somewhere she never would have imagined. Oh, Suba Sensei, I appreciate your concern, but I'm her homeroom teacher, and it was a day in early summer, and after end of the term exams were over and momentary relief had spread through the students, Kazusa called to the staff room, was left briefly dumbstruck by this unexpected name coming from an unexpected party. This is what happens when you give special treatment like this. Toma isn't the prize student of the music program anymore. She's the bottom of the regular program. Well... Yeah, but the stuff with unreliable narratives, like, if it's really the case, then it's really confusing, like, because even if I can't rely upon the thoughts of main character that he voices to himself, and I can't base what his intentions truly are on his actions, that I don't know, like, how I should even go about this, like, what they're supposed to think, like. She had heard that she was the only one in her class, in her entire year, in fact, who had managed to fail her exam in every single subject. It's like you're forcing him to take care of you in everything. I didn't hear him, I never asked him to. And of course, she also understood why things had turned out that way. She hadn't prepared for her classes. The character that I at least can understand a bit, like, and where they're coming from is like Setsuna. It's like the one I at least seem to understand the best so far. She hadn't prepared for her classes, hadn't reviewed, she hadn't ever even listened to class. Always sleeping at her desk, and pretending to sleep while diligently observing her neighbor. It would have been impossible for her to get more than 30 points on her exams. Yeah, but from my perspective, Haruki is just acting like buffoon, like. Yeah, it's actually pretty it's really something, like, because like White Album 2 is like freakishly long, and with 5 rereads it's gonna be like what more than 300 hours, I think, like, maybe even more, like, or maybe like closer to 500, I think. I think, yeah, for the time being, I think my girl is the least, like, faulty here, like. She sure had a lot of blunders here and there, like, but she genuinely tried to to make everyone happy and be happy himself, like, along the way, like. I understand you made Kitahara apologize for the fact that you were the only one who didn't submit your guidance counseling form on time. I wouldn't be able to read Umineko like 9 times. That's because that's not usually how I go about things. Like, usually jump into something new. Like, I also remember reading the manga for the Umineko. Yeah, but that's about it. Like, one read and manga read. That's all I did. No, I didn't. The class rep decided to do that on his own. So yeah, putting all of this on him, you're taking advantage of the fact that Kitahara stuck up for you to make everything his fault. You're just fine with it. But in that sense, she wasn't happy at all about being dragged in and blamed for something Kitahara did. When he was one of the reasons she had been too distracted to study. I'm calling bullshit, like, nah, like. She didn't study just because she didn't want to study, like, it's, and because she's not doing mentally good as well, as we know. Also, Hojo University, are you joking? Do you think for 1 second you'll be able to get a recommendation? The class rep said I could just put anything. Listen to that, shifting the blame again. Furthermore, the guidance counselor, Suba, had been Kazusa's natural enemy since the year before. But to be honest, I can't blame her, like, because I wouldn't describe myself as the most studious type either. So whatever. You can't keep up acting like you're still in the music program. It's causing us nothing but a trouble. How long are you going to keep dragging out your first year glory? Ever since the music program as a whole had started to give up on Kazusa, she and Suba had clashed countless times. He drew a line, in a sense, between himself and the other teachers who took one look at Kazusa's face. I couldn't say anything, even though she was nothing more than a student. He gave all of his advice to her straight, no matter how harsh, holding nothing back, and the things he said were in fact, pretty fair and reasonable. No, so my guy, in fact, actually tried to do something. Okay, I'm gonna give him a bit more credit than I did back then, like. Now, whether Kazus actually listened to any of it or spent any time reflecting on it, that was a different story. When she interpreted his advice as nastiness, his open attitude as arrogance, his reasoning as petty fault-finding, the mere presence of this single awful middle-aged teacher caused Kazus's misplaced resentment to take an even deeper root. You were admitted here because we had hopes for your prospects as pianist. We shouldn't have let you transfer in the first place. I mean, you could just expel me. If you don't need my family financial contributions, then by all means. What kind of student talks like that? What kind of a guidance counselor talks like that? So Weston say, why don't we end this here for today? Toma seems to be reflecting on her actions. And I think it's Haruki, isn't he? Is that how people act when they're reflecting on their actions? Who are you accusing of reflecting? She could have said it aloud, but the idea of taking Suva's inflammatory bait made her feel like he was manipulating her, and she wasn't interested in that. You don't need to tell me. After slamming the faculty room door shut, Kazusa stormed down the hallway, unable to dispel her anger. With her comparatively high stature for a girl, long slender arms and legs, and a model-like figure, Casa took long strides, making a picture that normally would have captivated any underclassman who didn't know what she was really like. But her expression plastered on her face did her no favors in terms of elegance. I have never heard of Serene being allowed to just use a music room alone, whenever she likes. I never asked for it, you all just offered it to me. If your mother could see you now, this has nothing to do with my mother. If I were in your place, I would feel unbearably guilty for saddling my teachers and the parents with this. I'm not like you. Either dedicate yourself to studying and keep up with everyone else, or you don't have to tell me. I have had enough of this place anyway. Oh, hey, Toma. There you are. Wait, is it some like nightmare she has this moment, or it's just like her thoughts have been like self-critical? After she had gone to all the trouble to make herself look unapproachable, the same guy approached her anyway, not paying attention to her face, not reading her mood, and not thinking at all. The day was at the end of a term ceremony, so he should have long since gone home. What did they say? It seemed like they were chewing you out for a pretty long time. What did they say? It was awful. After taking over, her homeroom teacher had carried on like so was yes man, and told her not to cause any more trouble for Kitahara, which only fueled Kazusa's irritation even more. Still, did you actually use my notes? At least 80% of questions included material from them. Everyone in the faculty room was on the class rep side. Just as Kazusa... it's right after the moment when Haruki tried to climb to the window, like, I mean, to get into music room 2. That's probably the time frame when the scene happens. Just as Kazusa had once been the pride of the music program, he was the current pride of the regular program. You will take the supplementary exams, right? And though she was a member of the normal course now, Kazusa hadn't managed to become normal. From a special prize pupil to a special disappointment. The teachers, her classmates, the class rep, no one would just let Kazusa be. It's okay though. One school term should be enough to recover. We have got a summer break coming up too. It's completely possible. If you like, I can. Yeah? Therefore, just as always, Kazusa buried her thanks them all. She pierced Kitahara with gaze so cold that even she thought... Yeah, probably should just do it, later, like... Because I think you kinda... you kinda missed the beginning, like... Right there. She pierced Kitahara with gaze so cold that even she thought it might be a bit much. Then erased the expression and passed right by him as though nobody was there. And it's a bit all over the place since it's like... Because sometimes they don't tell you like explicitly the time frames when it happens. And you have to like... to put the thing together like by yourself, like. So I could imagine it's been tough to follow the stuff, especially if you missed the beginning. All Kitahara could do now was watch her leave dumbfounded. She pierced Kitahara with gaze so cold that even she thought it might be a bit much, then erased the expression and passed right by him as though nobody was there. Toma. All Kitahara could do now was match her leave dumbfounded. This noisy boy, this clueless idiot was frozen just as he had been when they first met. Kasa believed therefore that this would finally be the end. that he would never try to speak to her again. I mean, that's not how Haruki operates. Mm. Yeah, I also was wondering what's the deal with her father? Where is the man? It's such a friendliness were returned with such a vicious resentment that surely anyone would. Idiot. Even Kazusa wasn't sure whether that word was directed at him or at herself. Mm. But to be honest, it's a bit how would I say it? Pretty much, yeah. She haven't received love from anyone. Yeah. But you just it might sound a bit strange, but if you have a rough background of your own, it's a bit kind of tough to for some reason to look to see that kind of person who has a rough backstory as some sort of victim of circumstances. And you feel sure, shit was rough and in the pretty, but they would still they still need to fight back and keep their shit together. It might not make sense to you, but that also might be the reason why I'm a bit harsh on Kazusa from time to time. Even Kazusa wasn't sure whether that word was directed at him or at herself. The day a furious performance could be heard from Music Room 2. The loud, recklessly fast rhythm reverberating across the whole schoolyard through the open window caused the sport club members to stop their practice several times. Staying up in bewilderment at the third floor. Though the end of the term ceremony might be over, and even though summer break might have begun, Kazusa was still the master of Music Room 2. Yeah, but I do understand that she didn't get a lot of love or any love from everyone around, from anyone around her, aside from perhaps her mate, who was from what I assumed, treating her nicely, at least. Then, although it was thoroughly drawn up out by the piano, the guitar part from Smoke on the Water blew faintly in the wind. As Suba had said, Music Room 2 was an emblem of Kazusa's tyranny. I mean, the thing I'm gonna say that after this perhaps I'm gonna are you trying to say the very same thing I'm trying to say, that being the victim of circumstances doesn't excuse you from treating people like a crap and doesn't excuse your actions, like if you do some pretty bad shit, like. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say basically is yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I get mad at her. Like, because when I get mad at Kazusa, I get mad at her because she, from my perspective, she acts like a shit. I mean, she's treating people like a shit around her. Like, that's why I get mad about her. At her, like, pretty often. Even like with this understanding that she has like tough circumstances and she didn't get much love and doesn't figure out how to treat people. It's still like it doesn't give any excuse to her to treat people like like she does sometimes. Yes, but like still, even with this in account, I think it doesn't give anyone right to hurt others people. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I even if I understand Kazusa's, and if I'm gonna understand her behavior, I'm not gonna accept a lot of shit she does. Like, it's still not gonna settle well with me. Like, although it was thoroughly drowned out by the piano, the guitar part from "Smoke on the Water" blew faintly in the wind. As Uwe had said, Music Room 2 was an emblem of Kazusa tyranny, but the simple fact of you being here and playing the piano. Yeah, but like. But it's not even about me accepting that. Like, I'm just. Basically, what I'm trying to do here with reading all of this, I'm trying to see why he does, why she does things like the way she does, like. So that's why we're here in the first place. But the simple fact of you being here and playing the piano, there were people who experience antipathy. Yeah, like that's like that's exactly what I'm trying to convey. Like, 'cause but she could no longer leave this place because in the whole of the school, this was the only place where she belonged. Her fingers couldn't keep pace with her feelings. She couldn't regulate the force which she struck the keys, and her sense of pain started to go numb. Not just because her skill had decayed, but because today Kazusa was clearly extraordinarily riled up. The guitar moved on to Nagori Yuki, disregarding the season. The summer break would start tomorrow. On this critical day, Kazusa's wish to be alone was finally granted. Wait. She had managed to remove the single person who told to her the tiresome close up. For more than a month, they wouldn't see each other, and he would be unable to bridge the gap that they had formed between them in that time, and after that, the distance would just keep growing. And once again, it's like it's them once again with this like vague time frames, like that. This part because you really need to be like extremely attentive to understand that this happens in the part when she like And when she and Haruki get a signal from each other, like, and during the 1 month they didn't see each other because she would probably be able to make it all the way to graduation without any more barging in. So Kazusa forgot all about what had already happened, and so Kazusa, I think she still treats Setsuna like a shit in the end of introductory chapter, like. I mean, both of them, like Haruki and Kazusa, like, because I find the thing they did right in the end, like, it's one thing that they like went forward with their feelings and like did what they did, but like another one that scene in the freaking airport, like, why they have to like to kiss right in front of her, like, could they at least like try to understand that she's like she also has her own feelings, like, come on, like, where is the empathy, like why in the end of introductory chapter nobody had empathy for Setsuna, like, why? Like, okay, might be like Setsuna turned out to be like some sort of villain, like, I don't get it, but like one thing that I really don't understand, like, why nobody treats you like a freaking human being, like, in the end of introductory chapter, like. At some point, the piano sound had stopped. As she was picturing this delightful vacation, her fingers had stopped moving. For some reason, the loneliness that she had brought upon herself was her own two hands was horribly painful. And even with her like interrupting the status quo and the dynamic Satsune, oh my bad, like Haruki and Kazusa had, I still think like what she did there wasn't like that particularly wrong, like, because it was on Haruki to refuse her, like, no matter how like persuasive she was and how he with just how much people pleaser he's like, he had a lot of moments to like to back down, like to set things straight, like. Yeah, but like they really treated my girl Setsuna like a shit there, like. The corners of Kazusa's mouth twitched up as she muttered this, but the area around her eyes was distorted in a way that I couldn't really be called smiling. He's crappy, like, I missed this line. It was the same terrible guitar she had heard all through the term, having seemingly made a little improvement, if any at all. He would continue with this harmonious, selfish practice sessions by his lonesome, cutting into Kazusa's performance over and over, making mistake after mistake, not giving up when she stopped and losing some heart while she was in the middle of playing. Even though it was obviously a disruption to her, now and then it seemed as if the other sound was trying to accompany her, and she had been shocked countless times by its shows of egotism, but almost. His performance of White Album today managed... Wait... What? what? Like, I thought we already like in the scene we when they didn't see each other for a month, like, kind of. Okay, I'm starting to like struggle with keeping up with the jumps in time. Like his performance of White Album 2 today, or White Album today managed to scrape by with no mistakes, albeit just barely. Life began returning to her stationary fingers, little by little. She began to feel like she might be able to play just one more song. So everything is so everything that happens here is like way before the introductory chapter, like. Okay. This kind of clarifies it a bit, like. Right now, the only thing by Kazusa's side was the clumsy guitar from the next door. Tomokazusa hated the sky. She especially detested the deep blue sky immediately after the rainy season had ended. Albeit I would love to see some thoughts of her during the latter part of introductory chapter was like I need to see her reasoning, like, for what she did there. Like, she hated the teachers, the students, everything in the world around her. She especially detested the familiar male student, whom she wasn't going to see for a little while. But this small bit of noise, Tomokazu didn't hate that much. Chapter 2, Summer. Just the second chapter. But at least we get here. The middle of August was approaching, and the night and the high school baseball quarterfinals were ready to go. And Kazusa was spending truly pulling a summer vacation. And the idea she had about going on a trip by herself was abandoned within seconds, with the given reason being too much of a bother. Left with nothing to do, she lolled around in the giant living room of the Toma residence, running in the air conditioner at full power because it wasn't cooling enough. Sleeping whenever she felt like, waking whenever she felt like. The slowful lifestyle continued day after day. This class ape was probably the thrifty type. You mean like check out the scenes that I might have glossed over once again? I think I remember you talking about like that one where Kazusa watches Haruki like and stuff. What he say, seeing this way of life for this month of electrical bill? She was even able to cut herself off from thoughts like that. Such was her ability to turn off her mind. Until 2 years ago, she had practiced the piano for 10 hours a day, every day. However, during school or during a summer break, not that had reduced to twice a week, maybe 3 or 4 hours each time. Far from level that would eat up the 24 hours of free time she had. Still, she had a reasonable amount to do in July. Having quickly given up on the idea of doing absolutely nothing during the break, she started going during summer break. Now that's has reduced to twice a week, maybe 3 or 4 hours each time. Far from a level that would eat up the 24 hours of free time she had. Still, she had a reasonable amount. Wait. Okay. So that was the time when she took a driving course to get her license. Well, even with this, she was quite a crappy driver. Like, according to the schedule, at the outset, she was going to need to attend for at least a month. Even if things went well, and really she could have been busy with on-road training at this point. But yet again, it became clear that Tomokazu and anything with school in the name just didn't click. With her strong innate sense, she was easily able to handle the lessons the most people could clear. And she cleared every practice session in one go as well. Then got out of the car immediately for the remaining time. Even with the student's rampant selfishness, the female instructor had been assigned to her, had a certain friendliness, or one might say timidity, and let it slide for a while. The fact that this instructor was knocked out of commission with a cold for a few days, shortly after entering the first stage, threw a big wrench into Kazusa's summer vacation. The middle-aged man who came in as a substitute instructor refused to let Kazusa out of the car, even if she cleared the assignment in no time at all, instead demanding that she practice the same thing over and over. Kinda based here, actually. Because when it comes to riding a car, like, you gotta be like, the more experience you get under your belt, like, the better it's gonna be, like, in the long run. Like, that itself was technically according to the rules, so Kazusa as a student had no right to complain, but everything else about it got on her nerves. He had a tendency to pick out faults in her driving when, even when she hadn't made any mistakes. He wouldn't use a reapproaching tone for every little flaw in every answer she gave, and what was the most unbearable of it was the way he kept casually touching her shoulders, hips, and hands. All of these accompaniments reminded Kazusa of a certain teacher. And during her first lesson, she got out of the car with 10 minutes to go. Wait. Was groping her, like, back then, like, that's what I'm wondering about, because this line doesn't sound like a good thing to me. A certain teacher. I think it gotta be like Suva. There may not have been an instructor nearly passed out from agony in the passenger seat, clutching a certain area of his body. But regardless, she initially did not receive her certificate of completion, and Kazusa never returned. Never returned to that driving school again. And yet she now held a brand new driver's license, because 1 week later she had managed to pass the exam in one try, simply through independent study and practice. Setting aside practical skill, what would that pedantic class rep have said if he knew that she had scored 90 points in the subject on the first try? She allowed herself to find some satisfaction in the notion. Kazusa knew. She knew that she was capable of anything if she set her mind on it, aside from the piano that her mother had abandoned. Yes, I will get going. I mean, sure, there are like people like that, but to us, it really sounds like a really stupid thing to me to do. Like, because, for example, this instructor could lose his job one day. Like, is it really worth it to do it? Like, okay, he's gonna grope a girl here, like, but someday he's just gonna lose his job, like, because of this. Not even gonna talk about like the moral side of things, like, because it's pretty shitty thing to do. Looking at the wall clock, Kazusa saw that it was 3 in the afternoon, so she sat up from the sprawling living room floor and began taking off her loungewear. Her hip length black hair was briefly lifted up, and the moment her shirt was removed, it flowed down her naked body. I mean, if there's this type of people, yeah, like, they definitely sound like a pain in the ass to deal with. Hempel breasts bounced out. With no bra to confine them. There's slight imbalance with her slender body producing its own exquisite sort of balance. Then, stretching her naked body, she walked to the corner of room, picked some underwear out of garments that are set folded there, and casually put them on. Of course, Kazusa had not said them there herself. It was the helper who came in twice a week, who had laundered them. Next, she took her uniform, which the helper had also cleaned from its hanger on the wall, and the stool slipped casually onto her body. Looks hot outside. Now that she was nearly dressed, Kazusa looked at the scorching world outside the window, narrowing her eyes slightly at its brightness. It did seem hot outside, and the weather report had forecasted temperatures in the excess of 35 degrees Celsius. In the midst of this heat wave, in her school uniform, Kazusa was about to head for the campus, where her attendance wouldn't even be noted because the break was still on. For her, this could only be arduous, pointless, exhausting activity. But even though she grumbled, Kazusa was in a slightly better mood today, even compared to the self-indulgent, slowful days she had been spending. She gonna meet Haruki there, because today was a Tuesday, which meant there was something just a little bit better than usual. During the summer break, the campus was neither completely still, nor especially noisy, enveloped in a sort of mild hustle and bustle. In the schoolyard, the zealously training members of the sports club were starting to call out in tired voices, and they prepared to pack it up for the day. Enthusiastic voices bustled within the school building, ready to move to the main event now, and the air had cooled a little. Kazusa, who had never in her life had anything to do with any of the sports club, quickly ducked into the main building before ascending the familiar stairs to the third floor. Yeah, personally, I would never get to the school during the summer break. I would never understand why they do that in any visual novel or in anime The only reason I could see someone going to the school is if they take the remedial class And once she reached the third floor, she proceeded down the west hallway containing all the special classrooms, aiming for the one at the very back music room too. The fully open windows rendered the soundproofing completely meaningless. The guitar, drums, and bass coming from the nearby music room 1 were almost painfully loud. But Kazusa didn't react to this racket, and after carefully checking her surroundings and confirming that she was only one in the hallway, she unlocked the door to music room 2 and quickly slipped in. Her fluid series of motions didn't stop there. Now she locked the door again and turned on the lights in the dim room. Its curtains shut even though it was daytime. The true identity of the master of music room has always been concealed in this way. The closed-off classroom was always exceedingly humid, and within seconds she felt as though all the pores in her body had opened up at once. Kazusa picked up the AC remote controller, and just as she did at home, with no concern for electric bills, so at the environment, she set the fan to the maximum. The temperature as slow as it would go and hit the switch. Then finally she followed through on her original intention and sat down in front of the piano. Just as she had in the competition, she sank deeply into the bench, sticking out her backside and stretched her spine out taut. However, she did not begin playing immediately. She set her fingers on the keys, stared into space, and listened to the performance in the next classroom over. She wasn't focusing her mind or waiting for her sweat to dry up. She was waiting for something else. 5 o'clock p.m. That's when the band practice next door was supposed to end. The mediocre drums been bashed hard enough to drown out all the other sounds. The bass, modest but always stable to its sounds. The somewhat narcissistic guitar, the inexperienced keyboard, the female vocalist, well, she wasn't there today. She seemed to be skipping out constantly. Wait. Is that... Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, it's the part where like it was still the old club with Yanagihara Tomode, like the very same girl who like blew up the club in just 10 minutes. It was probably the light music club, or a band that just came together out of people who were interested. They must be spending all of their time rehearsing. Even in order to play at Hojo High School festival that was coming up that autumn. That said, the reason that Kazusa still hadn't started playing wasn't because she wanted to avoid disrupting them, or to enjoy their sound. To Kazusa's ears, listening to a performance like this in the first place was a waste of time. In the other words, the reason she hadn't started playing, the reason she had bothered to take the train to come here in this heat, even though she had very high quality piano at home, was ensured that she could indulge in an even bigger waste of time. As she had predicted a few minutes after 5, according to the classroom clock, the performance next door stopped. Here we go. And Kazusa's piano started up, quietly covering over the lingering notes. Softly and slowly at first, as if it was a test run. Nonchalantly so that as far as the people next door and the sports club members outside could tell, she had been playing for a little while already, just drowned out by the sounds of the band. Kazusa knew. She knew that Tuesday and Thursday afternoons were their rehearsal times. This light music club or this band that came together out of shared interests, these members of moderate skill levels get together, practiced for 2 hours from 3 to 5, tidied up as necessary and left the classroom around 5:30. And then he's crappy. And here it goes, like Haruki with his guitar once again. The guitar, apart from Stairway to Heaven, floated in on the wind, weaving its way through the gaps between the piano's notes. Yes, Kazusa knew, or rather she had recently deduced the pattern. That on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, after the band rehearsal ended, the guitar-kun began his own practice session. The one behind the sound was probably... Yeah, okay. Like, also, see you tomorrow, like, as always, man. And thank you for dropping by, like. I'm gonna make sure to provide you with a review later for this novel, like. The one behind the sound was probably a member of that band, but she never heard tones like this within the group rehearsal. In the band, the guitar could get a little carried away, but it was a relatively listenable level, a different level from the guitar at least. In the other words, Guitar-kun here must be the second guitar, a spare and errant boy or handyman. And he devoted himself to his personal practice sessions like this, sitting behind after the others members had left, in effort to bridge the skill gap between him and everyone else. CD, earnest, humble, hardworking. So Kazusa adapted the one behind this lousy sound, Guitar-kun, and harbored a secret sort of fondness for her stubbornness wouldn't allow for such a thing. Fondness for the very same Guitar-kun. For some reason, she hated that sort of effort in a version. Attitude was a fiery passion. Kazusa believed that results were everything in all things. It didn't matter whether those results were reached after lots of hard work or whether they just happened from a pure talent with barely any effort at all. It was certainly far more valuable than the lack of result after working hard. The guitar moved on to Shuro Nagashi. For this reason, Kazusa found no value at all in these clumsy sounds. There was just something comfortable about this perfect balance of awkwardness. Having her own superiority complex, satisfied just felt nice. She didn't hate it, that was all. Saying as the guitar slipped out of a thing, she kept her piano playing natural, not dragging her rhythm and not remaining accurate as always. She was just listening to the guitar. She was just playing the piano as she pleased. The other person might be in the next classroom over, but there was no point of contact between them. The guitar moved on to White Album, seemingly confident that it could handle this one. Because I had no interest in knowing anything more about her neighbor guitar cone. After all, she couldn't even find any common ground with her own classmates. There was no way she could hold a conversation with a total stranger. If they did meet face to face, she might stop hearing the sound after next week. And here it goes, I think, like the communication through the music between these two. So just like always, she shut herself away in the music room too, turned the AC on at full blast, opened the window, thereby drastically reducing the efficiency of both the air conditioning and soundproofing. In this environment, she continued to play the piano and to listen to the lousy guitar. But yeah, I'm glad that at least we finally get into the moment you're talking about, like, with them. I mean, the part that was also present in the game, but here it's gonna be like a bit more in details, I think. Like it's gonna be from Kazusa's perspective this time, so, and she is clearly more like more aware of this dynamic between them specifically. With an earth-shaking explosion, a new star was born in the sky, only to fizzle out in an instant. The second floor balcony of the Toma residence was a special seat for this once a year Big Bang, the summer festival fireworks display from the next town over. Are you angry? You're asking this now. What do you care? What do you care? But as Kazusa looked up the night sky from the balcony, the voice she finally mastered up contrasted starkly with the lively energy of the sky. In the other words, it was a darker, heavier voice than usual. I'm apologizing because I do care. The negotiations and everything here are dragging on longer than I thought they would, so I haven't been able to find the time to go back over there for a visit. You don't say. And the voice coming out of the cell phone against Kazusa was apologetic in the tone, though not especially dark or heavy. Is it hum? Wait. Yeah, it says Humaza. Like this was that was what I was wondering about. Did the other party realize that their own late on had Kazusa's voice stuck in a vicious cycle, sinking lower and lower, heavier and heavier? Kazusa, are you listening? I'm listening, and I'm not angry. I'm not a kid anymore. Tomoyoka, Kazusa's mother, her only blood relative, the one who led her only daughter in Japan, moved to Europe alone and was the whole reason Kazusa was the way she was now. Yeah, I'm just checked it out like to see if I missed out something like. Also, I never believed a word you said to begin with. She had known there was no use in hoping. She had thought it wasn't important enough to hope for. Oh, I sent you a souvenir, by the way. it's like she doesn't even listen to her. Like she just keeps talking her shit. Like, yeah, thanks. I should be able to come back to Japan for a day after my concert in China. Why don't we go get a dinner or something? This light-hearted promise from Yoka, which hardly sounded like sort of a tone a parent would take from his child, was of course neglected just as light-heartedly. This was her third broken promise this year. In other words, she hadn't kept even a single promise this year. I mean, it does make sense, judging by what kind of a person Tomoyoka is like. Are you going to school? I'm on a summer break right now. They hadn't seen each other in a year and a half. Kazusa wasn't even sure. She could remember her face accurately. Alright, well, why don't you come visit Paris then? I won't be able to spend any time with you. Because I'll be getting ready for my next tour. But I can have someone from my staff show you around. What's the point of you visiting the Paris then, like, if you can't even spend time with you, like, come on. What kind of, what kind of invitation is that, like? I'm busy too, as busy as you. Then again, maybe it was better than she couldn't see him. Cassie couldn't even guess what abuse she might hurl at her own mother if she saw her now. If you say so. Well, I would better go. It looks like we finally started boarding. Okay, bye. Oh, bye at Kazusa. At the same moment that the 10 birds final split the sky, Kazusa's cell phone scattered into pieces. Hadn't been flung hard against the balcony. But she didn't care it was broken. I mean, her having anger issues here is like... He's been enraged here is like... is understandable, like... Yeah, because her mother is like the crappy excuse of her parent, like... Okay, I'm gonna say that like there are a lot of her parents that are even way worse than her mother, but still like her mother is crappy parent. That's something I couldn't deny, like. But she didn't care if it was broken. The only person who called this phone was the one who had just skipped out on a promise and wouldn't be coming back to Japan for who knew how long. As the fireworks soared into the sky and shone upon Kazusa's profile, the rather pleasant expression she had on her face that afternoon changed in more ways than one. She hadn't gotten her hopes up. It hadn't been important enough to hope for. I don't care. No, she couldn't convince herself that easily. The world still existed purely to hurt Kazusa. At least Kazusa had begun to believe that much again. Even the terrible guitar playing twice a week. Even the fireworks that had brightly garnished the night sky until moments ago. All it was some trial set by God. To further emphasize the contrast with her present despair. He was just in a sadistic mode. I really don't care. Like... She felt so stupid. From the bottom of her heart, she felt stupid for having enjoyed herself that day, even if only for a little bit. Tomo Kazusa hated the sky. She especially detested the starry sky that had suddenly become so desolated. Not that the fireworks were over. The class reps noisiness, the guitar terrible playing, her own inability to learn. She hated it all so immensely that she could cry. 2 days later, first day. Yeah, but like... Man, it's sad that this shift in her mood, like... Because like, she only started to be just a little bit more optimistic about things, and then bam, like once again she's back to her ways. Just as always, she did on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Kazusa put on her uniform and left the house. However, it was a different time from the usual. It was in the morning under downpour of blazing sunlight. Even in her brief 10 minutes on the train, she rubbed her sleepy eyes over and over, nodded off several times and nearly missed the stop at Minami Setsugu. Because ever since the call from Yoko 2 nights ago, she hadn't slept a wink, even though she hadn't taken a single step outside. Kazusa had not slept in over 30 hours. At first, the jumble of all the negative feelings in her head disrupted her, so that even if she shut her eyes, she experienced no sleepiness. Although she was wide awake, she couldn't find the will to do anything. So in that was probably an empty house, she wandered into the maze of her own thoughts and spent the whole day there. Then the last night was there because she had finally broken out of her spiritual prison, or because her body had simply reached its limit. She found herself assailed by a fierce drowsiness. I mean, it does make total sense, like, because you literally spent like more than 30 hours being restless, like, without getting like even the slightest hint of sleep. But Costa rejected the desire to sleep, this time with a clear-cut violation. It's hot. It had already struck her as she left the house, but when she got off at Minami Setsugo station, the rays of the sun were more conspicuous than usual, for which the heat was nearing its peak, because her body, after being shut in for 2 nights, couldn't regulate its temperature well enough to handle that heat. And above all, because according to the weather forecast, today was supposed to be the hottest day of the year. When with the great difficulty she reached the high school, it was past noon. She always had to take a detour around the schoolyard, so as not to get in the way of the sports club, but with everyone on lunch break. The yard was empty at the moment, so she cut straight across, rushed to the shoe locker and rested her hands on her knees, breathing heavily. Her stamina was at its limit. If she had to walk another 5 minutes outside in this heat, for all she knew, she could get a head stroke. After catching her breath for a few more minutes by the shoe locker, she stepped on the pedal for the water cooler. It had clearly already been ravaged by sports club members at the start of the break, and the water had that ran down her throat was no cooler than normal tap water. I like my sunny summer days, but like when when it gets like absurdly hot, it's pretty lame. Like, yeah, that's. She winced hard at the first mouthful, but sometimes one just had to make sacrifices. After gulping down the tepid water, she pulled out 5 or 6 of the candies she always kept stashed away in her pocket, tossed them into her mouth, and crushed them down. And after taking on water and calories for the first time in nearly a day and a half, Kosa finally started dragging her legs in the direction of the third floor. She was actually so exhausted by the time she reached the campus that she couldn't possibly climb any steps. Her brain at least had recognized that. One step, another step, a moment's rest, another step. After taking almost 10 minutes to climb less than 50 steps, she finally reached the third. Oh, that's a lot of fatigue there, but if she sleep deprived, yeah, it does make sense. She finally reached the third floor hallway, and the sound reached Kazusa's ears, so key that it dispelled the feeling of the labor she had just undergone. It came from one spot before her usual destination, from one classroom east of the westernmost end of the hallway. Oh, is it gonna be the scene where she teached Haruki how to play the guitar? Like, is it gonna be the one? In other words, it was the lousy guitar she heard from Music Room 1. After slowly accustoming her ears to the racket, Kazusa gathered her energy and took a firm step down the hallway. She wasn't heading toward Music Room 2, of course. At some point, the sweat that had been gushing out of her whole body had disappeared. Her flushed face had regained its normal hue. Her heavy, ragged breathing had perfectly settled. The usual Toma Kazusa, who was sharp as a razor, was now complete. Kazusa knew. She knew the reason that she had left her home earlier than usual today. It was because she believed he would be here. The guitar-kun always did his own solo review session after band practice was over, and knowing him, he would never skimp on pre-rehearsal either. Why? Because Kitahara, yeah, that's probably something she might have not see coming. Like, wow, huh? At first, the turn in the wave was so all too familiar. What are you doing here? Aren't you part of the Go Home club? It's the middle of summer vacation. Can't you tell? When the Guitar-kun and Kitahara Haruki saw Kazusa's face, he looked startled for half a second, but quickly turned away again, focusing his gaze on his own fingertips and the strings. This behavior could be taken as embarrassment at seeing someone completely unexpected, was lingering bitterness over the manner of their parting during the end of term ceremony. I can tell you are playing rather terribly. So Kazusa, in attempt to figure out the meaning behind his reaction, clumsily piled on the provocation. Aren't you also part of the Go Home Club, Toma? What are you doing at school in the middle of summer? You sure are childish, lashing back at someone the instant they strike on your... Yeah. Speaking of being childish. Well, feeling a bit more hard with every response he gave. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of like... didn't go the way she expected. Only started this year. It's a given that I'm somewhat terrible at this right now, isn't it? I mean, you're just holding down chores, right? I can't understand how you could possibly miss. That's what everyone says when they never played it themselves. You know, Toma, you should change your tendency of laughing at those who are doing their best. Doing their best, huh? In my opinion, anyone who is willing to break a sweat over something is an environmental person. That is, admire anyone who puts in effort in. Whether it be physical or mental. Nothing he said was of any interest to Kazusa because she believed that people who produce results were far more impressive than people who struggled. After all, she wasn't so unfamiliar with the instruments as to be called someone who had never played it herself. Yeah, because like... From the perspective of a normal person, she's like a music freak. Even if she was forced into it. Moreover, it was worse than somewhat terrible at it. Anyway, what's up today? If you want me to give you supplementary lessons, then wait a little bit until I'm done and I can hand it over, eh? Because she knew he had only started this year. Hand over that thing. Well, after all, she had been listening to him play it since the beginning. Just for a little bit, Toma. She held out her hand and Kitahara, seemingly a little bewildered, slowly handed over the guitar. Kazusa accepted it casually, pulled up a stool, settled herself on it as deeply as she did with the piano before resting her fingers on the strings of the guitar. Playing exactly the same song that he had just been playing, as though it were a different song entirely. Because it probably sounds like much different coming from someone who actually can play. Like showing off to him. Why? Because that was Kazusa's entire purpose for today. No, not supplementary lessons. And she wasn't here to play the piano either, for once. She simply came to see him. The boy there in front of him, the Guitar-kun, the class rep. And everyone else this whole time. She knew Guitar-kun through identity from the start. The clumsiness of tone, the diligence, the inflexibility were all unmistakably his. A few days after she first met him and stabbed him with the cold blade of her words, the spring day when she first heard his sound, it was disgusted with his abysmal performance. She had realized that the figure she saw from behind as he left the Twilita Music Room 1 was that of the Nagin class rep. Guitar-kun caught his breath. Mr. Class rep stared at Kazusa's hands and face in alternation, the skill of her fingers manipulating the strings with flowing motions. He stared at her expression, which differed so completely from how she looked in the classroom, serious but with a hint of enjoyment. I mean, this is like in a way it's like a key moment for this two, like, because as far as I remember, like it's right here when Haruki started to admire Kazusa, the way he started to admire her, like. It was the fate that Kazusa never made, except on special days. On the day that she intentionally ignored the class rep's noisiness, for example. On the day that she poured out a torrent of abuse onto Kitahara after he spoke a word too much, for example. On the day that she responded to the overfamiliar attitude of the classmate who sat next to her with a cold gaze, for example. On those days that left some sorrow feeling in her heart. Okay, back then when I read introductory chapter, I kinda got this impression that part of the reason why he ended up liking her so much was because of this scene, like in particular. If your wish was granted, as she just started to hear the tones of the guitar, she would cover it with her piano. Perhaps allow the guitar to take a charge, and two sounds would converse. This was the face Kazusa made at those times. The face she made when she arbitrarily decided they had reconciled and allowed herself to feel relief. Thank you. After she had played through the whole thing, she held out the guitar out, but its previous owner was completely rigid. Do you want it back? But no, he was moving just a bit. Yeah, maybe I don't really remember the moment when he started to admire her as a girl, but like the guy sure is crazy about like when he starts to rumble about Kazusa. Because he really can go on like on a rant about just how beautiful she is. Like, Kitahara, are you crying? I'm sorry. Probably the moments when he is most for the most part sincere with himself. Like, I'm sorry, please don't make me feel any more pathetic than I already am. His whole body was trembling. Did it hurt? I'm devastated. I have lost all hope in my own talent. This isn't about the talent, it's about practice. Like you said, the difference is in how much sweat we have broken over it. Yeah? At these preachy words, which sounded so much like something he himself would say, Kitahara looked up. To learn this, even a little amount of practice should be enough if you do it seriously. You act all high and mighty, but you don't try hard enough. No way, I may not be good, but I have been practicing for 2 hours every day. However, the statement that followed was with a certain weight coming from a personal experience was a simple, outright lie. Purely for the purpose of making herself look good. Because that little amount of practice was entirely too little. Yeah, like... And it wasn't persuasive at all. It just... This kind of instrument normally takes 10 hours of practice a day. Because that's probably exactly the time she spent practicing it. Yeah, there had indeed been 10 hours of practice in a day. No, I would be pro if I practiced it that much. It wouldn't have to be. It's only last night, but it was still 10 hours in one day. That was so amazing, though. Did you play the guitar too, Toma? Nope. I've just been messing around with it for the past few days. Don't be going off negating everything you said just now. After managing to play through the song with no mistakes, she did a small fist pump of victory behind her back, but it didn't seem like he had noticed. Now try again from the very beginning. I can give you a few pointers to start you off. You sure? Holy shit, like, it sounds like a straight up a freaking job, like. Yeah, but it's more like if you're talking about probably a musician who is who is aiming to like to earn the money for playing the music, like not not some some hobbies like a Haruki is like, because the guy is not aiming to play it professionally, like by any means, and he's not like okay, sure, he's like is crazy guy on his own, like, but he's not as crazy as Kei from Musicos, for example, in this way. Because that guy was like a freaking Terminator when it comes to practicing the guitar. Like, the dude could spend like 18 hours practicing like every day, and if and even if blood started to pour from his fingers, he would just like act like it's not big deal and wipe it off and continue like just like this. I have got time to kill. Why would you come to school during the summer holidays? Just play already. Okay. It causes a surgeon. Kitahara set his fingers against the strings once again. After a single deep breath, keeping a close watch on his hands, he started playing the rhythm. The same poor tempo. The sounds that spilled out showed no sign of improvement whatsoever. You can start out slowly. In fact, he was bungling from the very beginning. You say I should hurry and play, and then you say I should play slowly. That's the difference in the meaning between both of those. A class representative with excellent grades such as yourself should get the idea, no? Of course. Then start out slowly. This time he went a fair bit slower, but with a greater certainty. Even so, his nearly 6 month worth of guitar experience was still several levels below what Kazusa had managed in one night of cramming. But also it's probably because she has like all the knowledge she needs, aside just from the the skill of playing the guitar. Like she still has a lot of music background, so it's really not it's really not a fair comparison in this regard here. However, maybe that was inevitable in a sense. Like, if the only fair comparison, it would be like compare Haruki to Ikei, like from Musicus, because the both guys like are amateurs, like with the guitar, and they both start like with not knowing much how to play the instrument. Kazuha had been blessed by the god of music. Nah, I don't believe in the god of music since I played Musicus. Since he birth, focused yourself to the Atmos limits during those scant 10 hours offering her prayers. On top of that, she had come with the same unimaginable motivation as the day she touched the piano for the first time. Speaking of which, what is it now? Purely to create an opportunity for conversation with this class rep. This is the first time you have spoken to me on your own, isn't it? You're just imagining things. That was how badly she had wanted to interact with someone. Not just anyone, of course. In fact, there was only one person it could possibly be. Not just by process of elimination, but out of multiple choices. But yeah, also you're gonna hear a bunch of me comparing White Album 2 with Musicos, like here and there in my playthrough. Because Musicos also happens to have a school festival focused on playing as a school band, like. And there are a lot of similarities between them at first glance. That's why I can't help myself but mention it here as well. Thank you. You're so creepy. She had no choice but to acknowledge it now. It's yeah, I think like Musicus is like a crazily overlooked visual novel. It's really a shame that it's so overlooked. That there is she liked it or not, she needed this noisy class rapper who would never leave her alone. That night, Kazusa still couldn't sleep. Her body's exhaustion had passed its peak, to the point that she couldn't take a single step, and she took a taxi home from the high school, where she collapsed into bed without even getting changed. But her brain stubbornly refused the temptation of sleep. There were too many thoughts racing around in her head, and it seemed unlikely she would be able to fall asleep until she collected herself to a certain extent. Well, this isn't good. Granted, at least 90% of this many unresolved questions pertain to the school festival coming up in 3 months. In the end, Kazusa had only spent about an hour teaching Kitahara how to play the guitar. And still, it left like a deep impression on him. The other party had seemed more than prepared to ask for an entire day worth of instruction, but she had cut off his question in the middle with an irritation and left her right away. Because even though he might have forgotten about it completely, she remembered that if she continued the lesson, his fellow band members would show up for their rehearsal and witness the unusual scene playing out. How am I supposed to bring that idiot in line with everyone else? And at this point, you surely could tell that she thinks about a certain idiot quite a lot. As she is turned over in a bed for the 100th time, Kazusa pondered the reality of the shock she had finally experienced today, saying that there were beautiful people in the world who couldn't get their fingers to move the way they wanted them to. Guitar-kun, she understood the patterns in his playing somehow, basically as his fingers could only respond to what he was thinking in his head. His thinking speed must not be particularly fast. She practically says like he's slow on uptake, like. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much like you've been in denial, like. She says that she doesn't care, like, but she gives a lot of crap about some odd stuff like this. I'm gonna say odd crap because like it's not usually what not usually what people would care about. Like most people like. And yeah, and like not something Haruki himself like would probably realize like. With the behaviors, thoughts, grades, and deliberation of a standard honor student that all piled up on the top of each other, there was no room for muscle memory to wedge itself in. Put simply, he was smart, but his intuition was dull. Lately, Kazusa had taken immense pleasure at being able to look down so completely. No. The class rep who always, at least in her eyes, acted so condescendingly to her. And it was the sense of superiority that she had taught him so meticulously. But in the end, she couldn't keep a certain feeling of frustration from welling up inside her. Why isn't this going better? He's working hard. No one can beat him when it comes to studying and effort. So why isn't God rewarding him? Because there is no God of music. There is nobody to reward him. Kazusa was forced to realize that she did not understand anything. that there wasn't unbridgeable gap in ability line between them, cultivated over the years that they had been alive. Yeah, that's like the real answer. Well, he spent 10 hours a day facing his desk. Kazusa spent 10 hours a day facing the piano. While he was studying for more than 10 years, Kazusa was handling a musical instrument for more than 10 years. As a result, he couldn't catch up to Kazusa. Kazusa couldn't even see that he was behind him. Yet efforts led to success. In that sense, Kazusa's blunt declaration that Kitahara wasn't working nearly hard enough was true. But Kazusa's single night of guitar cramming had more than 10 years of 10 hours a day piano practice as foundation. And that's pretty much what I was talking about before. That she has like thousands of hours of practice behind that quote-quote single night of guitar playing. The half of year he spent practicing had no musical training to back it up. Kazusa, who had always dealt with everything by instinct and wasn't used to thinking things so... the one who like crazily overthinks stuff right now. Hadn't realized that as a simple fact until now. That said, they couldn't change anything about those years that had led up to this point. All that he could change were the 3 months coming up. So what now? How do we get to a point where this guy can actually play? And so Kazusa thought about it. She racked her brain hard in a way that she had never done in her life. For Kitahara, this sort of marrying might be no more of an exertion than an after-dinner exercise. He might have come up with a solution in a matter of seconds. Even so, Kazusa fought as hard as she could. She pondered about a way to turn a terrible guitar playing into not a great guitar playing. She pondered about a way to keep the audience from laughing at least. If by some mistake he were to have to fill in at the school festival concert. That's kind of interesting since it seems like at least this we could think of this as like some outlet to her, like stop worrying about her mother or about her past, like at all, like, and just focus on the crappy the crappy class rep, like who can't play the guitar for his dear life. She contemplated a worried rift. At some point, the piano, her mother, herself, all had been forgotten, and she thought of nothing but him. It was late August now. The high school baseball season was over, and the Bond Festival and CA buffing season had long since passed. Kazusa was so busy that her eyes were practically spinning. The day that nearly every day for the past several days carrying a heavy musical instrument into the school building, then staying cooped up in a music room all day instead of participating in any supplementary lessons or club activities had started to spread among the members of the sports club. At the end of last week, a delivery truck had suddenly pulled up the school grounds, and when they tried to haul in a large quantity of equipment, it caused some trouble with the school faculty who didn't know anything about it. For all of this, music room 2, which had been almost barren of anything useful aside from the piano, came to be quite busy before long. Now there was a drum set, a bass, a saxophone, and any other number of instruments, a lineup not to be outdone by music room 1 next door. And to trained eye, it might have been apparent that these instruments were all about 1 order of magnitude greater in cost than those supplied by the school. These instruments were brought in from the Thomas Residence private studio, which was of a quality that was unimaginable to ordinary people and would have left them speechless. And today, on the final Tuesday of the month, in the completely transformed music room 2, there was Kazusa sitting deeply on the bench, just like always. She set her fingers on the keys, stared off in the distance, and didn't move a muscle. Waiting with her mind focused but still relaxed. It was almost time for pre-rehearsal. What do you mean by this? Like, Even like worrying a lot about stuff that doesn't matter in the first place. It's like from the perfectly silent hallway from the open window, the sound of a solitary guitar floated on the breeze. He's still playing Condor Pasa. El Condor Pasa? Seriously? As as she was by the utterly amateurish choice of a song, Kazusa's body is still stiffen up with excitement at the arrival of what she had been waiting for. She dropped her eyes to the keyboard, lightly raised her arms, took one deep breath, and the breath carried the piano accompaniment of music room tone. It was El Condor Pass, of course. Not just following along with the sound like before, but adding it to it. She couldn't let the other sound be. Then the guitar stopped. One bit later, the piano accompaniment stopped as well. Like... Yeah, it sounds really funny. Like, now I get it. Like, yeah, to you, my reading session with White Album 2 is like is watching Haruki to play his guitar in a crappy way. It's like, and you're trying to wrap your way around, wrap your head around like how to make me to reach the understanding of certain things. Yeah, that's probably what I'm trying to say. Like, but yeah, but this kind of interesting parallel there. Yeah, life sure is funny. I was just following along with the sound like before, but I didn't. Also, I'm gonna say another funny thing. I think, I remember like seeing some random posts about someone mentioning Setsuna being the villain in White Album 2, and the post that was about like the favorite your favorite villain in the visual novel. Like, I remember seeing that post like a while ago. Like, it was, I think, 2 years or a year ago. Like, no clue. Yeah, but I'm starting to suspect like that you're that guy like who was, I remember saying that like Setsuna there. Ah, but to be honest, I'm joking actually. Like, I'm kind of have the state of like, I think I can tell jokes with a straight face like sometimes. Then the guitar stopped one bit later, but the piano accompaniment stopped as well. Maybe okay, like okay, because I just remembered someone like making that kind of similar take. But yours, yeah, like kind of more nuanced, like because what I'm gonna give you like a huge props for it's just how like how deep you go to explain your perspective, like I might not see eye to eye with you like on certain things like as I go further and further in that album too, but still like what I really appreciated is people having opinions like and and being passionate about things they love, like because I think life will generally will be like really boring if there weren't people who like who are passionate about the stuff they love. Then the guitar stopped. One bit later, the piano accompaniment stopped as well. Right about now, someone from the classroom to the east must be peering out the window at the classroom to the west, making a puzzled expression. However, as the heavy curtains over the window were drawn shut, and he could not see inside, he picked up the guitar again. His head still turned, and once again the guitar part of from El Condor Pasa began to play. One bit later, the piano accompaniment began. Oh, and here we go. It's them playing together in tandem. It was almost, although the sound of the piano, as noisy as a certain class rap, was leading the guitar. I mean, in regards to Setsun, like I can see some faults of here, like yeah, if you're gonna like watch my playthrough further at some point, like you would see like me. In some way, I think like